Wait, where's the? Wait,
I'm arranging my.
yeah, we gotta like officially start Portrait. I mean, come on.
Yeah, you can't just cut in like that. I'm
That
gonna.
continues.
You can't have like a grand repetition or whatever it's called.
Okay, I'm happy with how big that is.
Let me just quickly listen to one Frodo scene so I remember what he's.
No, that's cheating, man. I don't get
One
to listen to
one
the
scene.
play.
Okay, fuck, not even one
out of
scene.
there.
Gotcha,
Get out
gotcha.
of there.
Fine. Okay.
Cheating guy, Jesus.
all my for is it Pippin? Is it second breakfast or is it someone else?
Yeah, that's Pippin. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And a Mary.
No, that's the
I
only
don't think he knows about second
I
breakfast. man.
recognize it.
Okay, guys, you can't. You're getting me too nervous.
Alright. Okay, so welcome to our official reading of Lord of the Rings, A Fellowship of the Ring. Oh, I'm so excited.
Maybe only the first half.
Maybe only the first half.
Let's see how it goes. We'll keep going till we fall over.
Alright, so we're gonna switch the narration, depending on who has the least lines. And yeah, we've already divided the characters to what probably makes most sense.
Make changes on the fly, just so you know.
Alright, and Patrick, you're gonna start the narration. Ooh, this is gonna be an adventure, guys. An adventure.
Would you be nice?
Okay. Black continues. Elvish singing. A woman's voice is whispering, tinged with sadness and regret.
I am a priester sen. Han mason ni nen. Han mason ni shai. A han nossen name me willif. The world has changed. I feel it in the water. I feel it in the earth. I smell it in the air. Much that once was is lost, for none now live who remember it.
Such a good mic, Ian.
Flickering firelight. The Noldorin forge in Eregin, molten gold pours from the lip of the iron ladle.
It began with the forging of the great rings.
3 rings, each set with a single gem, are received by the High Elves Galadriel, Galad, and Círdan.
3 were given to the elves, immortal, wisest, fairest of all beings.
7 rings held aloft in triumph by the dwarf lords.
7 to the dwarf lords, great miners and craftsmen of the mountain halls.
9 rings clutched tightly by the kings of men, as if holding close a precious secret.
And 9. 9 rings were gifted to the race of men, who above all else desire power.
Wait, can we? I think it's so cool that you can actually like see the names of various places. Like, who the fuck knew that was called the Noldorin Forge in Eregion?
People who played what's that?
Lord of the Rings Online?
Clone called? No, the
Oh, War of the Ring?
no, I can't remember what it's called. Anyway,
Okay.
Desire power. For within these rings was bound the strength and will to govern each race. But they were all of them deceived.
An ancient parchment map of Middle-earth, moving slowly across the map as if drawn by an unseen force. The camera closes in a place named Mordor.
For another ring was made.
Sauron forging the one ring in the chambers of Samath now.
In the lands of Mordor, in the fires of Mount Doom, the Dark Lord Sauron forged in secret a master ring to control all others.
The one ring reflecting fiery lava. Fire writing emerges on the plain ring, the plain band of gold.
And into this ring he poured his cruelty, his malice, and his will to dominate all life.
The one ring falls through space and into flames.
One ring to rule them all.
A great shadow falls across the map, closing in around the realm of Gondor. Screaming villagers, men, women, and children run from their homes, pursued by armies of hideous orcs.
One by one, the 3 lands of Middle-earth fell to the power of the ring. but there were some who resisted.
Isildur, son of the king Gondor, leads an army across the plains of Dagorlad.
A last alliance of men and elves marched against the armies of Gondor. On the slopes of Mount Doom, they fought for the freedom of Middle-earth.
The Battle of Dagorlad, the Elf Lord Eldron commands rank after rank of elven archers, orcs retreating before the army of the Last Alliance. Elendil holds aloft the great sword Narsil.
Victory was near.
The huge dark figure of Sauron, bearing the one ring on his finger, looms over the field of battle.
But the power of the ring could not be undone.
Sauron lays waste to the armies of the Last Alliance. With desperate courage, Elendil leads a charge. The black mace of Sauron lashes out. Elendil's body falls like a crumbled rag doll. Isildur cradles the body of his father in his arms. The shadow of Sauron falls over him.
It was in this moment, when all hope had faded, that Isildur, son of the king, took up his father's sword.
Isildur snatches the broken blade from Narsil. The blade severs Sauron's fingers, and the One Ring flies from his body.
Sauron, the enemy of the free peoples of Middle-earth, was defeated. Wait, then this isn't me, right? Sauron's armor clatters to the ground. No, that should be.
Yeah.
No, okay, this is weird. Sauron's armor clatters to the ground, his body gone, vaporized. Isildur picks up the severed finger and removes the One Ring, transfixed.
The ring passed to Isildur, who had this one chance to destroy evil forever.
Yo, we need someone in the background to like hum the Lord of the Rings music.
That's it, yeah, copyright strike.
Gladdenfield. Isildur leads a small column of men through the darkened woods, the One Ring glinting on a chain around his neck.
But the hearts of men are easily corrupted, and the ring of power has a will of its own.
Suddenly, arrows fly. They are ambushed by orcs. Isildur screams.
Ah!
Isildur materializes underwater as the ring slips slowly from his finger. Riddles of light play across Isildur's pale face. He is dead.
It betrayed Isildur to his death.
The ring falls through the murky water of the river Anduin.
Anduin.
And some things that should not have been forgotten were lost. History became legend. Legend became myth.
The water of Arden River lie dark and undisturbed.
And for 2,500 years, the ring passed out of all knowledge.
Silt swirls and a thin white hand reaches down and grasps the ring.
Until, when chance came, it ensnared a new bearer.
The thin white hand opens to reveal the One Ring.
My precious.
I gotta be honest, I completely forgot it was that long. Like 2
It's a long man, alright.
Yeah, we're getting there. Important world building right here.
Mist-shrouded mountains.
The ring came to the creature Gollum, who took it deep into the tunnels of the misty mountains.
The gloom of a mountain cavern, a murky pool of water. In the darkness, a shadow outline of an
Emaciated
figure.
And there it consumed him. A raspy voice muttering that I don't say it.
A raspy voice.
I don't think that's a Galadriel line, no.
It came to me, my own, my love, my preciousness. The ring brought to Gollum a natural long life. For 500 years it poisoned his mind, and in the gloom of Gollum's cave, it waited.
Bathed in cold moonlight, the world lies dark and still, the unsettled quiet before the storm.
Darkness crept back into the forests of the world. Rumor grew of a shadow in the east, whispers of a nameless fear, and the ring of power perceived. Its time had now come. It abandoned Gollum.
Slow motion. Unseen by its keeper, the ring falls to the muddy floor of a mountain tunnel.
But something happened then that the ring did not intend.
Fumbling in the dark, a small hand closes over the ring.
It was picked up by the most unlikely creature imaginable.
What's this?
A youngish looking Bilbo Baggins peers down at what lies in his hand, perplexed by what is found.
A hobbit. Bilbo Baggins of the Shire.
A ring?
He's such a good Bilbo.
Suddenly, a voice screams, its anguish ringing through the cold, dark tunnels.
But your mic is cutting
Yeah,
out.
you're cutting out. Repeat. Okay.
Important place, man.
Take two.
Damn it. Mike, come on. Lost! Lost! My precious is lost!
Nice.
A frightened Bilbo quickly pockets the one ring and hurries on. The camera soars away from the mountains, moving faster and faster. Their dark green forests and jagged white peaks receding into the shroud of mist.
For the time will soon come when hobbits will shape the fortunes of all.
Everybody, round of applause for that intro.
I can literally picture every.
Yeah.
I'm literally just sitting here watching
Dude, you hit some of those Galadriel words like perfect, like exactly how she says it.
And she says it a certain way, right? Should we change the narrator?
Okay, what's coming up? Hobbiton, right?
It's Frodo Gandalf talking by themselves for a good long time.
Yeah,
And
Tom?
then Bilbo.
Oh, Ian?
Yeah, but I just spoke a lot.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yes, Tom can.
Either one of you or
No,
Tom.
Bilbo's gonna talk.
Oh, Bilbo should up. It's me or Podtrack.
You do it.
Okay, you talk about
You
it.
did the narration, so you do
Just
it.
go in, just go.
Yeah, sorry. Oh shit, I scrolled down too much.
Oh, that's a lot of scene describing.
2 hobbit feet, resting on a small rock, rising out of the long, overgrown grasses. The Fellowship of the Ring. The Shire. 60 A figure lies beneath the dappled sunlight of an old tree. White flowers are scattered along the well-seeded grasses, an idyllic setting at the end of a long hot summer. The figure is reading a book. In the distance, growing louder, over the gentle clip-clop of an approaching cart and horse, can be heard the humming of a deep voice, so the tune of the road goes ever on. Suddenly, the figure in the grass sits up. Looking straight at camera is a handsome young hobbit with dark curly hair and deep blue eyes. This is Frodo Baggins. His eyes alight with excitement. Tossing away the long stem of grass in his mouth, Frodo runs off. The cart rattles along a leafy lane, driven by a stooped figure in grey. Shots of Frodo running, careering downhill, jumping over logs, dodging tree branches. The shambling old pony snorts and rears, and suddenly Frodo appears on the bank above the cart.
You're late.
Gandalf glowers at the young hobbit.
A wizard is never late, Frodo Baggins, nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he means to.
They look at each other a moment, then both start laughing, and Frodo's face breaks into a smile.
It's wonderful to see you, Oh, sorry, yeah. Did I do this early? Oh, no, it's wonderful to see you, Gandalf!
Next to Gandalf, you see how small hobbits are? Frodo is 3 foot 6 inches tall.
You didn't think I'd miss your Uncle Bilbo's birthday.
One moment, guys. I gotta swap the computer real quick.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
Not a line.
Let's wait. Let's take a second. You can have a drink.
Oh, yeah.
Man, oof.
So-
Narration's a lot, man. You gotta read a lot.
Yeah.
Wait,
That's
second.
terrible. Yes, no.
No, he's back right, it's fine.
Okay, you're back, Podtrack? You ready?
Yeah, I'll be ready.
The cart rattled past a field lupin being tended by hobbits.
What news of the outside world? Tell me everything.
Gandalf looks down at Frodo, a twinkle in his eye.
What, everything? Far too eager and curious for a hobbit. Most unnatural.
The cart rattles over a stone bridge towards a busy hobbit marketplace.
Well, what can I tell you? Life in the world goes on much as if it does in the past age. Full of its own comings and goings, scarcely even aware of the existence of hobbits.
Close up is Gandalf as he surveys the peaceful scene before him.
For which I am very thankful.
Hobbits look up, exclaiming in wonder and excitement as the cart bearing Gandalf and Frodo rolls past the Green Dragon Inn towards the party field, where scores of hobbits are busy preparing for the big night.
Ah, the long-expected party. So, how is the old rascal? I hear it's going to be a party of special magnificence.
You know Bilbo, he's got the whole place in an uproar.
Oh, well, that should please him.
Half the Shire's been invited.
Good gracious me.
He's up to something.
Oh, really?
Frodo shoots a knowing look as Gandalf averts his eyes. Give me that look, Jacko. Okay.
Alright then, keep your secrets. Before you came along, we Bagginses were very well thought of.
Indeed.
Never had any adventures or did anything unexpected.
If you're referring to the incident with the dragon, I was barely involved. All I did was give your uncle a little nudge out of the door.
Well, whatever you did, you've been officially labelled as a disturber of the peace.
Oh, really?
Odo Proudfoot looks up at the cat passing by, deeply suspicious. As the cart rattles into the small village of Hobbiton, a quaint rustic settlement, nestled amongst rolling green hills and large trees. The hobbits live in hobbit halls, neat burrows dug into the grassy hillside, with round doors and cute front gardens. Excited children chasing after the cart. Gandalf ignores the children's cries. The children stand deflated, watching Gandalf disappear up the lane. At that moment, spinning balls of bright colour suddenly leap out of the cart, fizzing over the heads of the delighted children. Gandalf smiles to himself, well pleased with a joke. Odo Proudfoot is unable to suppress a chuckle. Odo stands up in the cart as Gandalf reins in the horse.
Gandalf, I'm glad you're back.
Frodo leaves expertly from the cart. Gandalf smiles.
So am I, dear boy. So am I.
Gandalf's cart pulls up outside the gate to Bag End, a particularly fine example of a hobbit hall, with a large round front door set into a grassy hillside. There is a sign on the gate which reads, "No admittance except on party business." Gandalf strides up to the garden path of Bag End. He raises his staff and raps on the front door. A voice calls out. Tom!
A voice calls out.
Tom! He's like, shit, it's me!
No,
Line?
we don't want any more visitors, well-wishers, or distant relations.
And what about very old friends?
There's so many lines I love.
Yeah.
Suddenly the door opens, and Bilbo Baggins stands before him. He is a hobbit of indeterminate age, with a mischievous twinkle in his eye. Wearing a dasher's brocade waistcoat, he looks every inch the eccentric gentleman.
Gandalf?
Bilbo Baggins.
My dear Gandalf!
I love it.
Gandalf drops to his knee to embrace his old friend.
It's good to see you. 111 years old, who would believe it?
Gandalf looks at him more keenly.
Oh, you haven't aged a day.
Oh, Gandalf and Bilbo laugh together and enter Bag End. Man, they keep trying to trick me up.
They do.
Come on, come in. Welcome, welcome.
Bilbo leads Gandalf into Bag End, cozy and cluttered with souvenirs of Bilbo's travels. Gandalf has a suit to avoid hitting his head on the low ceiling. Bilbo hangs up Gandalf's hat on a peg and trots off down the hall.
Tea, or maybe something stronger. A few bottles of the old vineyard left. 1296. A very good year. Almost as old as I am. Was laid down by my father. What say we open one, eh?
Bilbo disappears into the kitchen and Gandalf looks around, enjoying the familiarity of Bag End. He turns, knocking his head on the light and then walking into a wooden beam. He groans. Thank you.
I was expecting you sometime last week. Not that it matters. You come and go as you please. Always have done, always will. You've got me a bit unprepared, I'm afraid. We've only got cold chicken, bit of pickles, some cheese here. Oh no, that might be a little risky.
I like how in a movie this is all like way in the background, right? You can barely
Yeah.
This is... Yeah. Gandalf stops in front of a framed map, charred in one corner. It is Sorin's map of the Lonely Mountain. Gandalf smiles to himself. Man, Sorin, who's that?
It's an Easter egg.
We've got raspberry jam and apple tart. Got some custard somewhere. Not much for afters, I'm afraid. Oh no, we're alright. Just got some sponge cake. Nice little snack. Hope it's enough. I could use some eggs if you like.
He got food in him outside.
Yeah.
Drops half-eaten pork pie in his hand as Gandalf mysteriously appears behind him.
Just tea, thank you.
Oh, right. You don't mind if...
No, not at all. Go ahead.
Oh, it's someone we don't know. Podjack!
Well, there's still a sudden loud knocking at.
Oh, sorry, it's suddenly loud knocking on the door. Podjack.
What? Why is me?
This is Mrs. Saxwell Baggins, and we don't have someone to do that.
Oh, okay. Bilbo Baggins, you opened this door. I know you're in there.
Beautiful.
I'm not home.
Gandalf watches, amused as Bilbo tries to hide.
Got to get away from these confounded relatives. Hanging on the bell all day, never giving me a moment's peace. I want to see the mountains again. Mountains, Gandalf. And then find somewhere quiet where I can finish my book. Oh, tea!
So, you mean to go through with your plan then?
Yes, it's all in hand. All the arrangements are made.
Frodo suspects something.
Of course he does. He's a Baggins, not some block-headed brace girdle from Hardbottle.
You will tell him, won't you?
Yes.
He's very fond of you.
I know. He'd probably come with me if I asked him. I think, in his heart, Frodo's still in love with the Shire. The woods and the fields, little rivers.
Narration.
Oh, sorry.
Bilbo stands.
Bilbo stands.
Yeah, Bilbo stands, gazing out of the kitchen window.
I am old, Gandalf.
Bilbo looks at Gandalf sadly. Stop!
Yeah, as a narrator, he has to like read along every fucking line.
Yeah.
It's hard.
I know I don't look it, but I'm beginning to feel it in my heart.
Bilbo's fingers close around his waistcoat pocket, gripping a small, unseen object.
I feel thin, sort of stretched, like butter scraped over too much bread. I need a holiday, a very long holiday. I don't expect I shall return. In fact, I mean not to.
Gandalf and Bilbo are sitting on the bag end porch. Below them, final preparations are being made on the party field. Bilbo strikes a match and lights his pipe.
Old Toby, the finest weed in Southfarthing.
Bilbo blows a perfect smoke ring and washes it right into the air. Tiny sailing ship with masts and sails glides through the center of Bilbo's smoke ring.
Oh. Gandalf, my old friend, this will be a night to remember.
Okay.
Alright, can we just do a quick round of applause? This is perfect Gandalf and Bilbo.
Do you think it's pretty funny all the lines that Bilbo have in the background? Because the only thing I remember is the eggs in the end.
We're going to fire.
Yeah, it's very much at that point you're like focused on Gandalf and what he's discovering, while Bilbo's just muttering away, yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. Alright, should we switch narration?
Yeah, but this is Sam and Frodo, so me, Jacko, and then Bilbo as well, and
So,
Mary.
Chris?
I think it has to be pod tracking. We have everyone.
Shall I just do it then? There's a bit of Gandalf coming up, but it seems like a little while.
Yeah, that seems good to me. When it's a new character, I think the narrator should just say who says the next line. Because the narrator always says something, then it's like a new character. So if you're narrator there and we don't know who's saying that line, just name someone who hasn't said
someone, sure.
Okay. Boom. A firework explodes into the night sky, high above Hobbiton, in the shape of a great green tree with unfolding branches. With glowing flowers as they rain down from the branches, evaporating just above the upturned faces of delighted partygoers. 144 hobbits, feasting and drinking carts of beer and wine are scattered about, and the tables are piled high with steaming scones and savouries. Gandalf hurries about, lighting fireworks with a blue spark that dances magically from his staff. Bilbo is greeting visitors. Frodo and Sam sit at a table drinking ale. Frodo notices Sam's eyes keep flicking to another pretty hobbit, Rosie Cotton, sitting some distance away.
Go on, Sam. Ask Rosie for a dance.
I think I'll just have another ale.
Oh, no, you don't. Go on.
Sam goes to drain his glass. Suddenly it is snatched out of his hands as Frodo thrusts him into the middle of the passing throng of dancers. Hang on, Sam's horrified face as he is swept away. Frodo laughs and finishes Sam's beer.
That's Corona right there.
Hang along Gandalf as he sets alight a particularly spectacular firework that draws gasps of admiration from the party guests. Bilbo is relating stories of his adventure to a group of young hobbit children.
So there I was, at the mercy of 3 monstrous trolls. Have you ever heard of a troll? Do you know what a troll is? Great big nasty 20-foot high smelly things. And they're arguing about how they're going to cook us.
A little hobbit girl's upturned face, her eyes growing larger and larger.
Whether it be turned on a spit or minced in a pie, or whether they were going to sit us one by one and squash us into jelly. But I spent so long arguing the whether to use and why force, and the sun's first light crept over the top of the trees and turned them all to stone.
Stunned gasps from his young audience greet his astonishing feat. Merry and Pippin, two mischievous young hobbits in their late teens. Pippin scrambles onto the back of Gandalf's wagon, snatching up the small firework. No, the other one, the big one! Pippin grabs a huge rocket. Firework fuse crackles with flame. Merry is holding out the big rocket. He looks aghast as the fizzing fuse that Pippin has just lit. You're supposed to stick it in the ground!
It's in the ground.
Merry fearfully tosses the rocket to Pippin. The fuse sizzles angrily. Outside!
What's your idea?
Pippin attempts to throw the fizzing rocket back to Merry. Whoosh! The two hobbits are suddenly blown off their feet in a shower of sparks as the rocket blasts off with frightening power. The rocket zooms over the party. It suddenly bursts apart, forming the shape of a great red golden dragon. Fire gushes from its nostrils as it turns back and flies low towards the startled crowd. Frodo watches the firework dragon with alarm, but Bilbo is oblivious to the panicking crowd and impending danger.
Bilbo, watch out for the dragon!
Dragon? Nonsense, hasn't been a dragon in these parts for 1,000 years.
Angle on Frodo as he hurriedly pulls Bilbo to the ground, just as the dragon roars a few feet above their heads, like a flaming express train. Hobbits dive to the ground, tables overturn, tents collapse, food flies everywhere. The fireworks dragon turns a somersault and explodes over the hills with a deafening bang. This gets the biggest cheer of the night. Angle on Merry and Pippin. Clothes and hair smoking. That was good.
Let's get another one.
A large hand suddenly clamped down on Merry and Pippin's ears. Gandalf looking down sternly. Meriadoc Brandybuck and Peregrine Took. I might have known. Merry and Pippin are leaning over a barrel, washing dishes in soapy water, with Gandalf sitting nearby, smoking his pipe and sipping on ale. Cries of "Speech! Speech!" erupt from the party. Oh shit, who do we lose?
We'll see him.
And he's back. Bilbo sitting on a stool. He bows in gratitude at the applause.
Speech!
My dear Bagginses and Boffins, Ducks and Brandybooks, Grubs, Bolgers, Bracegirdles, and Proudfoot.
Proud feet.
A hobbit with particularly big feet.
Yeah, sorry, I jumped straight to the proud feet, my bad.
Today is my 111th birthday. Yes, and alas, 71 years is far too short a time to live among such excellent and admirable hobbits.
Tremendous outburst of approval. Hey!
In your mirror, by the way.
I don't know half of you half as well as I should like, and I like less than half of you as well as you deserve.
Scatters clapping as the guests try to work out if that was a compliment or not. Close on Frodo and Gandalf smiling to themselves. And again, Bilbo. A strange hum seems to fill his head. A bead of sweat rolls down his brow. Bilbo's hand pulls something out of his waistcoat pocket and holds it behind his back.
I have things to do, and I have put this off for far too long.
Close on. Bilbo's knuckles turn white as he tightens his grip on the small object behind his back.
I regret to announce this is the end. I'm going now, and bid you all a very fond farewell.
Bilbo looks across at Frodo, hesitates, then...
Goodbye.
Bilbo instantly vanishes. The party explodes into an uproar. The crowd leaps to its feet. Frodo staring at the empty stool in disbelief. Night. The party is still in an excited uproar. Some 50 yards away. Oh yeah, fair
Change
time.
generation.
So Gandalf coming up.
Well, there's a lot of Gandalf and Bilbo.
Yeah.
Jack, you haven't done
Yeah, sure, it's fine. The party is still in an excited uproar, some 50 yards away as we pan across a moonlit lane to the front door of Bag End. Door opens, pulled by an invisible hand. The door quietly closes. Bilbo materializes as he pulls a plain gold ring off his finger. Bilbo laughs as he tosses the ring in the air, then places it in his pocket. Bilbo emerges from the passage, carrying a walking stick. He finds Gandalf looming over him.
I suppose you think that was terribly clever.
Come on, Gandalf. Did you see their faces?
So good.
There are many magic rings in the world, Bilbo Baggins, and none of them should be used lightly.
It was just a bit of fun. You're probably right, as usual.
You will keep an eye on Frodo, won't you?
I'm leaving everything to him.
What about this ring of yours? Is that staying too?
Close up on Bilbo, he gives Gandalf a look and nods towards the mantelpiece.
Yes, it's in an envelope over there on the mantelpiece.
Oh, Gandalf frowns at the empty mantelpiece. Bilbo suddenly feels his waistcoat with a look of guilty surprise.
No, wait, it's here in my pocket. Isn't that odd now? Yet, after all, why not? Why shouldn't I keep it?
Think you should leave the ring behind, Bilbo? Is that so hard?
Well, no, and yes. Now it comes to it, I don't feel like parting with it. It's mine. I found it. It came to me.
Gandalf looks down at Bilbo with rising concern.
There was no need to get angry.
Well, if I'm angry, it's your fault. It's mine. My own. My precious.
Precious. It's been called that before, but not by you.
So, what business is it of yours what I do with my own things?
Bilbo's voice, shape and manner have suddenly changed.
I think you've had that ring quite long enough.
You want it for yourself!
Gandalf rises to his full height, his eyes flash, his shadow suddenly seems to fill the room.
Bilbo Baggins! Do not take me for some conjurer of cheap tricks!
Bilbo cowers from Gandalf, disarmed by his power, a frightened hobbit. Gandalf's expression softens.
I am not trying to rob you. I am trying to help you.
Oh, Jacko.
Sobbing, Bilbo runs to Gandalf and hugs him.
All you long years we've been friends. Trust me as you did once. Let it go.
You're right, Gandalf. The ring must go to Frodo.
Bilbo lifts his knapsack and heads for the front door.
It's late. The road is long. Yes, it is time.
Bilbo?
Hmm?
The ring is still in your pocket.
Bilbo hesitates, reaches into his pocket.
Oh, yes.
Bilbo pulls out the ring, he stares at it in his palm. With all of his willpower, Bilbo allows the ring to slowly slide off his palm and drop to the floor. This tiny ring lands with a heavy thud on the wooden floor. Bilbo staggering out of Bag End, he braces himself in the night air, pale and trembling, as if his loss of the ring has suddenly weakened him. Gandalf steps up behind him.
I've thought up an ending for my book, and he lived happily ever after to the end of his days.
I'm sure you will, my dear friend.
Goodbye, Gandalf.
Goodbye, Bilbo.
Bilbo walks away from Bag End, disappearing into the night, softly singing,
The road goes on and on.
Until our next meeting.
Alright, so this is Gandalf and Frodo. Someone else do narration?
Nothing Frodo.
Podtrack time?
Yeah, Podtrack or Tom, I would say, but Tom's got a bit of
see
Bilbo and
some
getting
Bilbo.
Gollum mixed in here, so yeah, probably Podtrack.
Okay.
I hate Potter.
Close. The ring, glinting on the floor. Gandalf circling around it. Puzzled look on his face. Gandalf slowly reaches for the ring. His fingers barely touch the ring. The creepy hum rising on the soundtrack. Gandalf in front of the fire with his pipe, staring into the flickering flames.
Done. It's up online.
Yeah.
It's mine, my own, my precious.
Riddles in the dark.
Bilbo! Bilbo!
Frodo rushes into Bag End. He stops and picks up the ring at his feet. Gandalf continues staring into the fire, as if locked in thought.
My precious, precious.
He's gone, hasn't he?
Frodo steps into the living room.
He talked for so long about leaving. I didn't think he'd really do it.
My own.
Gandalf?
Gandalf turns, his eyes locking onto the ring of Frodo's fingers.
Bilbo's ring.
Gandalf sorts hurriedly through Bilbo's papers.
He's gone to stay with the elves. He's left you Bag End.
Gandalf holds onto the envelope. Frodo drops the ring into it.
Along with all of his possessions.
Gandalf seals the envelope with wax and hands it to Frodo.
The ring is yours now. Put it somewhere out of sight.
Gandalf strikes hurriedly and starts to gather his things.
Where are you going?
I have things I must see to.
What things?
Questions. Questions that need answering.
You've only just arrived. I don't understand.
Gandalf is already at the door. He turns to Frodo.
Neither do I. Keep it secret. Keep it safe.
Gandalf hurries out the door, leaving Frodo standing alone in Bag End. I'm so annoyed by the random capital letter.
Yeah. That's a script.
Anyway. Yeah. The camera pushes in. The hum of the ring comes on the soundtrack. The camera pushes through the white paper to the ring. Beneath the hum, the whispered murmur of black speech can be heard.
That's partial tongue jack.
It sounds vaguely similar.
The jagged ruin of Barad-dûr, the Dark Tower. Teasing images. The huge.
Oh, baby, are they teasing?
Okay, sorry.
So lewd.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. The huge Dark Tower of Barad-dûr is being built. Thousands of orcs crawl over the surface, holding stone and iron up the towering heights. Mount Doom, a huge billowing cloud of
Tom, you're
black
coming.
filth, grows and spreads across the red sky, casting a shadowy pall of nightmarish landscape.
Beckons! Shire!
9 black riders burst out of Minas Morgul and charge towards the camera. A lone horseman gallops across the crest of a hill on the west road, the main highway south of Minas Tirith. He looks towards the saw-toothed mountains of Mordor, seeping across the blood-red sky, his face grave. He spurs his horse. Angel and Gandalf making his way down the lower depths of the citadel. Pages flipping as Gandalf searches the ancient scroll of books placed high on the wooden table. His eyes settle on the page. He murmurs hurriedly to himself, reading.
The year 3434 of the Second Age. Here follows the account of Isildur, High King of Gondor, and the finding of the Ring of Power.
Isildur, triumphant, reaches for the one ring, his eyes fixated on it.
It has come to me, the Ring of Power. It shall be an heirloom of my kingdom. All those who follow in my bloodline shall be bound to its fate, for I will risk no hurt to the ring. It is precious to me, though I buy it with great pain.
Elvish lettering marks the faithful document in Gandalf's hand.
The marking upon the band begin to fade. The writing, which at first was as clear as red flame, has all but disappeared. A secret now that only fire can tell.
Farmer Maggot is shopping wood in his garden, snorting horse nostrils as the shadow of the Black Riders looms over Hobbit House. Terrified, Farmer Maggot cowers in his doorway. Fang, his dog, whimpers and backs away.
Wait, isn't Fang from Harry Potter as well?
Yeah, also
it is.
needed.
Okay, who's Black
Don't see
Rider?
Shire! Baggins!
Okay, Jacko.
There's no Bagginses around here. They're all up in Hobbiton. That way!
The Black Rider gallops away at speed. Angles on Rosie Cotton.
Look at her.
Cotton bids the last of the patrons good night.
Good night with a quotation marks.
Good night. Sam meets her eyes for a moment. And Frodo leans in. Why Don? Frodo farewells Sam outside of Bag End and heads towards the front door. Creepy point of view from inside Bag End. Frodo coming up the path. Frodo enters Bag End. He immediately pauses, senses that something is amiss. All is quiet. Frodo peers uneasily into the darkened living room. Suddenly, a large figure looms off the shadows, reaching for Frodo. Frodo lets out a startling cry, pulls himself free, spins around and faces the assailant. Gandalf steps into the shaft of the moonlight. Paranoia blazes in his eyes. His clothes are dirty, ragged from much traveling. Hair and beard much longer than unkempt.
Is it secret? Is it safe?
Frodo pulls the envelope out of the old chest. Gandalf, suspicious, alert. Without a word, Gandalf takes the envelope and tosses it into the fireplace.
What are you doing?
Flames instantly consume the envelope, revealing the ring as it sinks into red-hot embers. Gandalf reaches into the fire with a pair of tongs. He lifts the ring out.
Hold out your hand, Frodo. Just quite cool.
So many cool lines.
Gandalf drops the ring into Frodo's hand. He reacts to its weight.
Can you see? Can you see anything?
Nothing. There's nothing. Wait.
The gold band of the ring, as fiery letters begin to appear. A tiny inscription grows red, as if burning from within.
Am I crazy or is this Frodo's line here?
Yeah.
Yeah, that should be right.
These are markings. It's some sort of Elvish. I can't read it.
There are few who can. The language is that of Mordor, which I will not utter here.
Mordor?
In the common tongue it says, "One ring to rule them all, one ring to find them, one ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them."
The ring lies on Frodo's simple kitchen table.
This is the one ring forged by the Dark Lord Sauron in the fires of Mount Doom, taken by Isildur from the hand of Sauron himself.
Frodo, stunned.
Bilbo found it. In Gollum's cave.
60 years the ring lay quiet in Bilbo's keeping, prolonging his life, delaying old age, but no longer Frodo. Evil is stirring in Mordor. The ring has awoken. It has heard its master's call.
That moment, a fleeting low whisper of black speech emanates from the ring. Frodo looks at Gandalf, each knowing that the other had heard it.
But he was destroyed. Sauron was destroyed.
The ring lies between them on the table.
No, Frodo. The spirit of Sauron has endured. His life force is bound to the ring, and the ring survived. Sauron has returned. His orcs have multiplied. His fortress of Barad-dûr is rebuilt in the land of Mordor. Sauron needs only this ring to cover all the land in a second darkness. He is seeking it. All his thought is bent on it. For the ring yearns, above all else, to return to the hand of its master. They are one, the ring and the Dark Lord. Frodo, he must never find out.
Suddenly, Frodo scoops up the ring.
Alright.
Angle and Frodo hurriedly entering the living room.
We put it away. We keep it hidden. We never speak of it again. No one knows it's here, do they?
Gandalf shifts uncomfortably.
Do they, Gandalf?
Gandalf looks at Frodo sadly.
There is one other who knew that Bilbo had the ring. I looked everywhere for the creature Gollum, but the enemy found him first.
Screams of pain, Tom.
You're muted, but we get it.
Well, first there's some more...
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't want to be ready.
Should we switch narration here, or...?
No.
Oh.
Barad-dûr is pretty far away, so don't worry about it. A teasing glimpse of Gollum being tortured by the orcs. But the wretched creature screams in pain.
I don't know how long they tortured him, but amidst the endless screams and inane babble, they discerned 2 words.
Shia Baggins!
Close on Frodo's horrified face.
Shia! Baggins! That will leave them here.
On the dark country lane, a hobbit bounder lifts his watch lantern in alarm.
Host! Who goes there?
Oh, thank you.
I just went for it. Sorry.
Yeah, it's fine.
Out of the darkness, thunder 2 black riders, a lethal sword swings down at the small hobbit bounder. Frodo thrusts the ring at Gandalf.
Take it! Take it!
No, Frodo.
You must take it!
You cannot offer me this ring.
I'm giving it to you!
Don't tempt me, Frodo. I dare not take it, not even to keep it safe.
The ring in Frodo's hand.
Understand, Frodo. I would use this ring from a desire to do good, but through me, it would wield a power too great and terrible to imagine.
But it cannot stay in the Shire.
No, it can't.
The close on the ring in Frodo's clenched hand.
What must I do?
Frodo throwing clothes into a knapsack. Gandalf watching him, making plans.
You must leave, and leave quickly. Get out of the Shire.
Where? Where shall I go?
Make for the village of Bree.
Bree? What about you?
I will be waiting for you at the Inn of the Prancing Pony.
Frodo packs his food into his knapsack.
And the ring will be safe there?
I don't know, Frodo. I don't have any answers. I must see the head of my order. He is both wise and powerful. Trust me, Frodo. He'll know what to do.
Frodo preparing to leave.
You'll have to leave the name of Baggins behind you, for that name is not safe outside the Shire.
Gandalf helps Frodo into his coat.
Travel only by day and stay off the road.
I can cut across country easily enough.
Gandalf looks at the young hobbit, moved by his courage.
My dear Frodo, hobbits really are amazing creatures. You can learn all there is to know about their ways in a month, and yet, after 100 years, they can still surprise you.
Suddenly, a sound from
Get down!
Gandalf freezes. He moves quietly towards the windows, eye wide with tension. He raises his staff above the window and slams it down on the intruders. There's a yelp in pain. Gandalf hauls a small figure into a room. Sam Gamgee sprawled across the floor. He looks up in terror as Gandalf looms over him.
Confound it all, Samwise Gamgee! Have you been eavesdropping?
Ain't been dropping no leaves, sir. Honest. I was cutting grass on the window there, if you follow me.
It's a little late to be trimming the hedges, don't you think?
I heard vague voices.
What did you hear? Speak!
Nothing important, that is. I heard a good deal about a ring and a Dark Lord and something about the end of the world. But please, Mr. Gandalf, sir, don't hurt me. Don't turn me anything unnatural.
Perhaps not. I've thought of a better use for you.
Pre-dawn, Hobbiton, shrouded in white, in a white veil of mist.
Do you want Tom maybe to do narration now? I think it might miss like. I don't know. I just think. Man says Catman has a couple bit coming up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure.
I'll take over, but like just do it for a little couple of minutes more, okay?
Oh, okay.
I just need to respond to something.
Okay.
Sure.
White on Hobbiton, shrouded in white veil of mist. White to reveal Gandalf, Frodo, and Sam hurrying across a plowed field, away from Hobbiton. Gandalf leads his horse. Frodo and Sam carrying knapsacks.
Come along, Samwise. Keep up.
Gandalf leads Frodo and Sam under the cover of the woods.
Be careful, both of you. The enemy has many spies in his service, many ways of hearing. Birds, beasts.
Gandalf takes Frodo to one side.
Is it safe?
Frodo nods. He pats his pocket.
Never put it on, for then the agents of the Dark Lord will be drawn to its power. Always remember, Frodo, The ring is trying to get back to its master. It wants to be found.
Gandalf wheels his horse, gallops away.
I'll take over now. For the narration. Frodo and Sam hiking over the gentle Shire countryside, wading through a shallow stream, heating the kettle over a small fire, clambering over stone wall. Green Hill Country afternoon. Sam stops short, taking stock of his surroundings. Sam looks back from where they came.
This is it.
This is what?
If I take one more step, it'll be the farthest away from home I've ever been.
Frodo gives Sam a pat on the shoulder.
Come on, Sam.
Sam takes a deep breath and steps forward. Close on, Sam's brown furry foot hits the ground.
Stop being weird about it, Tom.
Frodo is smiling.
Remember what Bilbo used to say. It's a dangerous business.
Frodo and Sam continue the journey. It's dangerous business, Frodo, going out your door. You step onto the road, and if you don't keep your feet, there's not knowing where you might be swept off to. Got to Isengard Valley Day. Gandalf is galloping along the outskirts of an ancient forest of Fangorn. Nestled in a basin at the foot of the distant misting mountains, the tall black tower of Orthanc is clearly visible. Isengard Valley Day. Gandalf gallops through the gate onto the fortress of Isengard, a great ring wall of stone, a mile from rim to rim, encloses beautiful trees and gardens, washed by streams that flow down from the mountains.
Smoke rises once more from the mountain of doom. The shadow takes shape in the darkness of Mordor. The hour grows late, and Gandalf the Grey rides to Isengard, seeking my counsel.
But it's gonna be hard on the throat, right?
That's really good.
That's good. It's good.
That's
Yeah.
really good.
It's really good.
The strange Tower of Orthanc, hewn from a solid pillar of black obsidian, rises up in the center of the Isengard circle. Gandalf arrives at the foot of the Orthanc stairs.
For that is why you come, is it not, my old friend?
Gandalf moves quickly towards him, grimy and weary from his long ride.
Saruman.
Gandalf and Saruman walk slowly between the beautiful trees of Isengard. Saruman's clean white robe contrasts with Gandalf's dusty grey robes.
Are you sure of this?
Beyond any doubt.
The Ring of Power has been found.
All these long years, it was in the Shire.
It was in the shower. It was on the tree.
It was in the Shire. Under my very nose.
And yet you did not have the wit to see it. Your love for the halfling's leaf has clearly slowed your mind.
Still have time. Time enough to counter Sauron, if we act quickly.
Time? What time do you think we have?
Wait, so in the movies, I have no problem with this whatsoever. But now that Potter's doing it, all I'm hearing is Count Dooku. It's magical.
Interior Orthanc Antechamber Day. Saruman and Gandalf are seated in a small, cluttered room to the side of the cavernous central chamber.
Sauron has regained much of his former strength. He cannot yet take physical form, but his spirit has lost none of its potency. Concealed within his fortress, the Lord of Mordor sees all. His gaze pierces cloud, shadow, earth, and flesh. You know what I speak. Gandalf, a great eye, lidless, wretched in flame.
The Eye of Sauron.
He has scattered all evil to him. Very soon he will have summoned an army great enough to launch an assault upon Middle-earth.
You know this? How?
I have seen it. I have seen it.
Gandalf and Saruman stride through Orthanc towards a stone plinth on which a sphere-like shape is draped with a cloth.
Palantir is a dangerous tool, Saruman.
Saruman lifts the cloth to reveal the Palantir.
Why? Why should we fear to use it?
They are not all accounted for, the lost seeing stones. We do not know who else may be watching.
Gandalf throws the cloth back over the Palantir. Flash image of Fire Eye. Saruman sits upon his throne.
Hours later than you think, Sauron's forces are already moving. The Nine have left the Minas Morgul.
9.
They crossed the River Ison in Midsummer's Eve, disguised as riders in black.
They've reached the Shire.
Shrug.
Saruman shrugs.
They will find the ring and kill the one who carries it.
Gandalf backs away and turns to run to the door, horrified as the door suddenly slams shut.
You do not seriously think a hobbit could contend with the will of Sauron. There is none who can.
Gandalf slowly turns to Saruman, a look of dawning horror.
Against the power of Mordor, there can be no victory. We must join with him, Gandalf. We must join Sauron. It would be wise, my friend.
Tell me, friend, when did Saruman the Wise abandon reason for madness?
At that moment, Gandalf is suddenly blasted across the room. He slams against the wall, there by some unseen force. With sudden effort, Gandalf wrenches himself off the wall and swings his staff on Saruman, blasting him off his feet. Gandalf and Saruman battle, powerful blasts throwing them across the room. Saruman screams, eyes blazing. Gandalf's staff suddenly wrenched from his grasp. It flies across the chamber into Saruman's hand. Gandalf is flung to the floor.
I gave you the chance of aiding me willingly, but you have elected the way of pain!
Gandalf is breathing hard on the floor, his eyes look into the madness of Saruman. Commanding two staffs, Saruman sends Gandalf into a sickening spin. Gandalf tumbles towards the top of the chamber, as if falling in reverse. Rushing POV as the roof Orthanc rockets towards camera.
Good scene, good scene, good scene.
Man, that's early on in the movie, man.
Yeah, that's really all early on in my head. Man, it's amazing how well you can picture when you have like diamond and everything, right? It's literally watching it.
Yeah.
Because this is Frodo from.
Great work, Podtrack, especially.
Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah.
This is where Frodo and Sam. Oh, yeah, great voice.
Every character we hear from Portrait just makes me more excited for the next campaign. Like.
Man, I'm getting real hyped about it.
Okay, so we've got all 4 hobbits coming up now.
Okay, so Tom, I guess? No, but Tom just did the narration.
I mean,
I can just do it, right? I mean, Frodo doesn't talk that
Tom
much. Tom, do you mind? Do you?
I can continue.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Let's continue. Makes more sense. I bet you won't say anything for a while.
Where are we? Farmer's Fields Day. Wide on. Frodo and Sam walking along a country lane which borders Farmer Maggot's fields. Sam is looking up. Frodo has disappeared around a corner in the lane.
Mr. Frodo! Mr. Frodo!
Frodo turns, surprised as Sam comes running towards him.
I thought I lost you.
Frodo looks at Sam suspiciously. Sam glances down, embarrassed.
What are you talking about?
It's just something Gandalf said.
What did he say?
He said, "Don't you leave him, Samwise Gamgee."
Looks at Frodo intently.
And I don't mean to.
Oh, Sam. We're still in the Shire. What could possibly happen?
Suddenly, a figure comes crashing out of a hedgerow, sending Frodo flying.
Ah.
Frodo picks himself up, only to be knocked back down again by Pippin.
Frodo! Merry Frodo Baggins!
Hello, Frodo.
Merry, Pippin, and Frodo, picking themselves up, a variety of vegetables have scattered everywhere.
What's the meaning of this?
Sam, hold this.
Merry gives Sam a large cabbage.
You've been in the Farmer Maggot's crop!
A large pitchfork can be seen racing towards them along the hedgerow. Angry shouts from Farmer Maggot.
You do this, Tom.
Who's that in my field? Get out of it! Get out of my field, you young varmints! I'll show you! Get out of my corn! Merry and Pippin hurriedly gather their booty and race away, with Frodo and Sam on their heels.
I don't know what's got him so upset. It's only a couple of carrots.
And cabbages. And those 3 bags of potatoes that we lifted last week. And the mushrooms the week before.
Yes, my point is, he's clearly overreacting.
The baying of large dogs sounds.
That's such a good dialogue.
Run!
Yeah, Merry and Pippin dialogue is great together.
Wood Road Day. Frodo, Sam, and and Merry and Pippin tumble head over heels down a bank onto a dark, wooded road. Close on a winded Pippin, his face inches away from a large pile of horse droppings.
That was close.
Frodo picks himself up and looks around quickly.
Oh, I think I've broken something.
Pulls a large carrot, almost broken through in the middle, out from his back pocket.
Oh,
Just a brandy buck and a took.
what? That was just a detour, a shortcut.
Shortcut to what?
Pippin has spied something under the trees on the far side of the road.
Shrooms.
Close on. Small brown mushrooms growing amongst the loamy undergrowth. Sam, Merry, and Pippin race towards the mushrooms. Frodo is tense and watchful. He realizes they are on a wooded road. Scattered leaves rise in the air, whirling down the road as if blown by an invisible wind. Suddenly, the sound of horse hooves.
I think we should get off the road.
A long-drawn wail comes down the wind like the cry of some evil and lonely creature.
Get off the road!
Sam grabs Merry and Pippin as the hobbits quickly scramble down the bank, hiding under a mossy log. The sound of hooves is close. A sinister mounted ring rat steps into view, hooded and faceless, mounted on a huge snarling black horse with insane eyes. Frodo freezes in terror. The ring wraith pauses right beside their hiding place. He sits very still with his head bowed, listening. From inside the hood comes a sniffing noise, as if he's trying to catch an elusive scent, his head turning from side to side. Close on Frodo. Beds of sweat gather on his brow. The ring wraith suddenly slides off his horse, leaning over the mossy log, peering suspiciously into the woods. Close on Frodo. He's drawing the ring out of his pocket. With trembling hands, his face fevered and sweating as if in the grip of some terrible internal struggle. The sound of sniffing intensifies as the ring wraith darts his head from side to side like a bird of party.
Like a bird of party? Not prey? You really think
You got a bird of prey, right?
The bird of party?
Yeah, bird of party.
party?
He's a
Reading what it says.
he's just a happy-go-lucky black horse. Yeah?
A peacock.
Frodo squeezing his eyes shut. Quick psychic blasts, an evil dark tower, a great eye, a burst of flame. Angle on Sam looking at Frodo with concern.
Frodo?
Merry desperately hurls the mushrooms across the road. The ring wraith spins around at the sound, and back to the far side of the road with frightening speed. Frodo instantly slumps, as if his psychic link had been broken.
What was that?
Frodo is staring, a look of shock on his face at the ring lying in the palm of his hand. Fairy Lane, night. Frodo, Sam, Merry, and Pippin hurry through the trees, slipping and sliding on the muddy ground.
Anything?
Nothing.
What's going on?
Merry moves past Pippin toward Frodo, watching intently. Sam keeps looking around nervously.
The Black Rider was looking for something. Or someone. Frodo?
Get down!
The silhouette of a black rider looms against the skyline. The four hobbits, sprawled on the ground, holding their breath, the black rider turns and departs.
I have to leave the Shire. Sam and I must get to Bree.
Merry looks at his friend, realizing Frodo is in deep trouble.
Right. Buckleberry Ferry. Follow me.
The hobbits break cover. Suddenly, a ring wraith bursts out of the forest towards them.
One, Frodo, this way!
The hobbits run. The ring wraith shrieks. Black horse cooves, snarling horse mouths, a fleeting black cowl.
Frodo, follow me! And I hadn't realized how good Merry is in this scene. Like,
Yeah. Mary's on it, man.
the carrot.
Mary's like the smart hobbit.
Yeah. Which doesn't say that much, but he's...
No, but you know.
Says something.
Buckleberry Ferry, night. Frodo, Sam, Merry, and Pippin are running towards the white, placid Brandywine River and the ferry.
Get the rope, Sam!
Quick angle, stomping hooves, snarling horses. Four ring wraiths are speeding through the fog, converging on the ferry crossing. The hobbits stampede across the wharf and tumble onto the ferry.
Frodo!
Frodo races across the wooden wharf, followed by the ring wraiths. He leaps into the ferry. Close on. Hoofs thunder down the wooden wharf. Sam and Mary show off with poles. The ferry slides out into the river just as the ring wraiths arrive. They pull up on the end of the wharf, shrieking with rage. The hobbits cover their ears. The ring wraiths wheel their horses towards the north and gallop away along the riverbank, quickly disappearing into the fog.
How far to the nearest crossing?
Brandywine Bridge. 20 miles.
Bree Gate Night. Lights of Bree, a small village of stone and half-timbered houses nestled against a low wooded hill.
Okay, we should probably assign someone Butterbeer and Gatekeeper, but they both have lines.
Do you want to, guys, maybe swap to narrator and
Yeah,
Tom
swap
takes
narrator as
Butterbird then?
Yeah, I will. Sure.
I think Mary's a bit light on the, and there's obviously no getting up or anything. Cool.
So
Yeah.
I'm Butterbur and the Gatekeeper.
Yeah, do both.
Yeah.
Cool.
A thick hedge surrounds the village. A great gate bars the western entrance. Close on. Frodo, Sam, Merry, and Pippin approach the gatehouse, wild eyes, ragged and out of breath.
Come on.
Surly gatekeeper glances down at them.
What do you want?
We're headed for the Prancing Pony.
The gatekeeper swings his lantern onto the hobbits, bathing them in an uncomfortable yellow spotlight.
Hobbits? 4 hobbits? And what's more, out of the Shire by your talk? What business brings you to Bree?
We wish to stay at the inn. Our business is our own.
To Frodo's relief, the gatekeeper unlocks the gate.
Alright, young sir. I meant no offense.
The hobbits gracefully enter Bree, the gatekeeper eyeing them curiously in the lantern light.
It's my job to ask questions after nightfall. There's a strange fold abroad. Can't be too careful. Folk abroad.
Strange fold.
Yep.
The script.
Screenplay writers clearly have an easy job, huh?
Really strange falls around. Like,
Yeah.
Like my
Exterior.
It must be.
Bree. Streets. Night. The tall Bree folk loom over the nervous little hobbits as Frodo, Sam, Merry, and Pippin make their way through the narrow streets. Tall buildings tower above them. Lights glow dimly from behind thick, dark curtains.
The camera sweeps over Peter Jackson.
Close on. The sign of the Prancing Pony Inn. Frodo, Sam, Merry, and Pippin hurry toward it. Cut to the interior. Prancing Pony reception. Night. Frodo, Sam, Merry, and Pippin come rushing in. Frodo attracts the innkeeper's attention.
Excuse me.
Good evening, little masters. If you're seeking accommodation, we've got some nice, cozy, hobbit-sized room available. Mr.
Underhill. My name's Underhill.
Underbill.
you got your story straight, man.
Alright, sorry, keep going.
There's a natural one on deception.
Underhill?
The friends of Gandalf the Grey. Can you tell him we've arrived?
Butterbur frowns.
Gandalf. Oh yes, I remember. Elderly chap, big grey beard, pointy hat.
Frodo nods with relief. Butterbur shakes his head.
Not seen him for 6 months.
Frodo is shocked.
What do we do now?
Prancing Pony Inn at night. Wide. The noisy, smoky inn. It is dimly lit, chiefly from a blazing log fire, and crowded with a mixture of big folk, local hobbits, and a couple of dwarfs. Frodo, Sam, Merry, and Pippin are sitting at a table against the wall, clearly trying to remain quiet and inconspicuous. Sam can't help himself. He keeps casting nervous glances around.
Sam. He'll be here. He'll come.
Merry plonks himself down at the table, carrying a very large mug of beer.
what's that?
This, my friend, is a pint.
It comes in pints? I'm getting one.
Sam watches Pippin rise unsteadily to his feet and head to the bar.
You've had a whole half already.
Merry watches Pippin go. A couple of swarthy men leaning against the bar glance at Frodo, then quickly look away.
That fellow's done nothing but stare at you since we arrived.
Sam indicates a brooding stranger who sits alone at a table in the far corner, smoking a curiously carved, long-stemmed pipe, peering from beneath a travel-stained cowl with gleaming eyes. Frodo gestures to Butterbur.
Excuse me. That man in the corner. Who is he?
He's one of them rangers. They're dangerous folk they are, wandering the wilds. What his right name is? I never heard. Around here he's known as Strider.
Strider.
Beneath the table, Frodo's fingers are nervously toying with the ring. Close on Frodo. Sweat runs down his brow. The strange hum of the ring spills into the soundtrack. Baggins, Baggins. A creepy whisper seems to fill Frodo's head. Sound that dissolves into Pippin's loud voice.
Baggins? Sure, I know what Baggins is right over there. Oh, too much.
Anglon Pippin, sitting at the bar, chatting with the locals. Frodo leaps to his feet and pushes his way toward the bar.
Frodo Baggins, he's my second cousin, once removed. On his mother's side. My third cousin, twice removed on his father's side, if you follow me.
Frodo grabs Pippin's sleeve, spilling his beer.
Pippin?
Steady on, Frodo.
Pippin pushes Frodo away. He stumbles backwards and falls to the floor. At that instant, the inn goes silent and all attention turns to Frodo. Close on the ring, in agonizing slow motion, we watch as it seems to hang in the air for a split second, then crashes down onto his outstretched finger. Frodo vanishes. There's a sharp intake of breath, followed by total silence. Cut to exterior, Bree countryside, night. The ring wraiths turn sharply in their saddles, instantly aware that the ring is being worn. They spur their horses towards the distant lights of Bree. Prancing pony, inn, night. Sam looks sick. Pippin instantly sobers, realizing his folly. The brooding stranger frowns, and the inn erupts into excited babble.
Guys, I have a problem. In these scenes, I remember everyone's lines except for Frodo. I have no clue what he sounds like.
Yeah, it's hard. I get it now with Sam, but everyone else, man, it's really just the nerves.
Yeah, okay, maybe. Yeah, sure.
In the twilight
The only thing I have for Pippin is literally the... How about second breath?
Yeah, when excited.
This scene when Pippin's like, I'm getting one, I'm like, I know that!
I'm getting one! Yeah.
It's just what feels, I think.
Comes in pints? I love it.
Yeah.
In the Twilight World, angle on Frodo as he finds himself in the Twilight World of the Ring. The excited crowd are suddenly moving in slow motion, distorted voices, a weird photographic negative quality. Frodo is moving in real time against the slow motion background. He suddenly clutches his head as he is hit with quick images of a great eye, an evil cat-like eye, wreathed in flames. Voice of Sauron. There is no life here in the void, only cold, only death. Frodo is terrified. He rolls under a table, desperately pushing the ring from his fingers. Frodo materializes into the real world. At that moment, a large hand reaches under the table and grabs Frodo by the collar and drags him away. Interior, Prancing Pony corridor. Frodo is pushed roughly against the wall. The brooding stranger looms over him.
You draw far too much attention to yourself, Mr. Underhill.
Hobbit's room, Prancing Pony. Frodo is pushed into the Hobbit's room by Strider.
What do you want?
A little more caution from you. That is no trinket you carry.
I carry nothing.
Indeed. I can usually avoid being seen if I wish, but to disappear entirely, that is a rare gift.
Who are you?
Are you frightened?
Yes.
Not nearly frightened enough. I know what hunts you.
Frodo jumps at the sound of a noise in the corridor. Strider deftly draws his sword. The door bursts open, and Sam, Merry, and Pippin appear on the doorway. Sam is squaring off with his fists. Merry brandishes a candlestick, and Pippin a chair.
Let him go! What have you, Longshanks?
Strider sheathes his sword, a slight smile playing on his lips.
You have a stout heart, little hobbit, but that alone won't save you.
You can no longer wait for the wizard, Frodo. They're coming.
Gatehouse, Bree, night. The gatekeeper comes out of his lodgings with a lantern, a look of fear on his face. He approaches the closed gate with great apprehension. The gatekeeper's face peers out of his peephole. Crash! The gate crashed down on the gatekeeper as 4 ring wraiths ride into Bree. Bree streets. The 4 ring wraiths fly down the empty streets like horsemen of the apocalypse. Back in the inn, low angle, the front door flies open. The 4 ring wraiths rush into the Prancing Pony with wicked swords drawn. Close on, Butterbur hiding behind his bar, trembling and sweating in terror. The Hobbit's room. Merry snorting softly on his pillow. Pippin stirs slightly, then settles back to sleep. The door creaks open. The 4 ring wraiths silently slide into the Hobbit's room. They loom above each bed, raising their shining swords above the sleeping hobbits. Sam's eyes open wide. In unison, the ring wraiths stab the hobbit in a slashing, hacking frenzy. In Strider's room. Strider is grimly listening to the sounds from his room. Hobbit's room again. Wide on, the ring wraiths step back from the slashed beds in triumph. A hacked blanket is pulled back to reveal nothing but a shredded pillow. The ring wraiths shriek with rage. Sam sits up with a start. Another shredded pillow is revealed. More shrieks of rage. Pippin and Merry wake with a start. Strider's room. Wide on. Sam, Merry, and Pippin have been sleeping on Strider's bed. Frodo stands next to Strider by the window, peering out nervously as furious ringwraith screeches echo across the courtyard from the Hobbit's room.
What are they?
They were once men,
Strider glances quickly at Frodo, then looks away.
great kings of men. Then Sauron the Deceiver gave to them 9 rings of power. Blinded by their greed, they took them without question, one by one, falling into darkness, and now they are slaves to his will.
Strider looks from the window as the ringwraiths gallop down the Bree streets. Strider turns his back to the hobbits, his face lit faintly by glowing embers of the fire.
They are Nazgul, ringwraiths, neither living or dead. At all times they feel the presence of the ring. Drawn to the power of the one, they will never stop hunting you.
Chetwood Forest, day.
Chetwood Forest? What?
Apparently. Strider, Merry, Pippin, and Frodo march through a gloomy, overgrown forest. Sam follows at the lead, leading Bill, a scrawny pony who is laden with surprise.
With surprise.
With surprise.
Where are you taking us?
Into the wild.
Frodo watches uneasily as Strider moves off into the cover of the trees. How do we know this Strider is a friend of Gandalf?
We have no choice but to trust him.
That's
Where is he? But where is he leading us?
Oh, that's Sam, apparently. To Rivendell, Master Gamgee, to the House of Elrond. Did you hear that, Bill?
I'm excited.
We're going to see the elves!
Strider leads the hobbits through the gloom of the forest. Oh, I love the aside to Bill. Midgewater Moors. Ariel. Strider leading Frodo, Sam, Merry, and Pippin across the windswept moors. The hobbits suddenly stop to unstrap their backpacks.
Gentlemen, we do not stop until nightfall.
Breakfast.
You already had it.
We had one, yes. But what about second breakfast?
Strider stares at Pippin blankly, then turns away, shaking his head. I don't think he knows about second breakfast, Pip.
What about 11s? Luncheons? Afternoon tea? Dinner? He knows them, he knows about them? Doesn't he?
I wouldn't count on it. An apple is thrown to Merry, who deftly catches it. Another, aimed at Pippin, catches him on the forehead.
Forehead?
Yeah.
English speaker here, Chris.
Pippin, I think is the tone. The hobbits trudge through thin rain, looking tired, hungry, and miserable. Orthanc antechamber. Saruman stands over the Palantir, his hands cupping the massive eye.
Power of Isengard is at your command, Sauron, Lord of the Earth.
Black speech fills the room. Amidst the harsh, guttural words of the voice of Saruman emerges.
Build me an army worthy of Mordor.
Wait, that's...
Yeah, I guess the voice of Sauron emerges, and then Sauron says, "Build me an army." Orthanc antechamber. Saruman is seated as his orc overseer approaches.
What orders for Mordor, my lord? What is the high command?
We have work to do.
Orc overseer, my favourite character.
How do we miss that when we go through the list of characters?
Isengard, knight. Gandalf, lying unconscious on a cold obsidian floor. He wakes to the sound of ripping and tearing. Rising onto his knees, lifting his head, Gandalf stands as the camera pulls back to reveal him stranded on the summit of Orthanc. He is marooned on a tiny, flat peak, surrounded on all sides by a sheer 500-foot drop. Another whispering wail rends the air. Gandalf crosses quickly to the edge and peers down. One of the beautiful Isengard trees is being ripped from the ground by the orcs.
Dude.
Gandalf looks on in horror as orcs hack into the trunk with axes. Saruman stands in rain, looking out into the dark night. The orc overseer sidles up to him, axe in hand, sweating with exertion.
The trees are strong, my lord. Their roots go deep.
Rip them all down.
Camera circles summit. More and more trees are hauled down and killed as Gandalf looks on in helpless despair. Dissolve to Weather Hills, day. Wide on. The rugged countryside as the hobbits journey on, led by Strider. Strider stops before a distant hill topped by an ancient ruin.
Saruman?
This was
This
once.
is not Sauron.
No, listen to me, listen to me. It was once the great watchtower of Amun Sol. We shall rest here tonight.
Weathertop, hollow, dusk. Frodo, Merry, and Pippin collapse into a small hollow halfway up Weathertop. They are muddy and exhausted. Strider drops 4 small swords at the hobbit's feet.
These are for you. Keep them close. I'm going to have a look around. Stay here.
It's a
Hollow.
bit Sauron being in this
Night.
thing.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so funny.
That's what Beck says every night when he goes to the second floor, by the way. That's literally what he says. These are for you. Relax, guys. I'm going to have a look around.
It's he sees a few said to him as he's handed the goggles and
These quotes.
Frodo, eyes flickering open. He suddenly sits up, sniffing the air. Sam, Merry, and Pippin huddled over a small fire. Sausages and bacon sizzle in a hot frying pan.
What are you doing?
Tomatoes, sausages, and crispy bacon.
We saved something for you, Mr. Frodo.
Put it out, you fools! Put it out!
Frodo desperately kicks dirt onto the fire. That was perfect. That's a really good reading.
Oh, that's nice. Ash. Oh, that's nice. Ash on my tomatoes.
A sudden shriek. Sorry, I just killed myself.
He 100% says nice crispy bacon. Like 100% of him, he goes, tomorrow sausages, nice crispy bacon.
Yeah.
Pretty sure, yeah, must have improvised it.
Yeah. Just checking.
5 ring wraiths on foot, running up the steep slope, unnaturally fast.
Go!
Frodo, Sam, Merry, and Pippin clamber desperately towards the summit, clutching their swords. Weathertop summit. Frodo, Sam, Merry, and Pippin race into a ring of broken stones on the summit of Weathertop, the ruined base of an ancient tower. The hobbits stand back to back in the center of the ring, waiting for the first assault. One by one, the 5 ring wraiths appear. Brandishing gleaming swords, they move slowly towards the hobbits. In the center is their leader, the Witch King.
Dude, wait, sorry to interrupt, but I just queued up like the Ringwraith theme as you're reading this, and it's so good.
Back, you devils! Sam rushes forward with a cry. He swings his sword at the Witch King, who blocks the blow with his own sword. Sam's blade shatters. The Witch King lashes out with his fist, sending Sam flying. Merry and Pippin, overcome with terror, throw themselves flat on the ground.
Sam's the only man.
The ring wraiths close in on Frodo. A venomous whisper dances in his head. Frodo shuts his eyes and staggers back, desperately resisting the wraith's whisperings. Slow motion as his hand goes into his pocket and pulls out the ring. The 5 ring wraiths utter a chilling scream of excitement. Frodo is unable to resist any longer. Failing his wisdom saving throw, he falls to his knees and slips on the ring. He disappears.
No!
Frodo finds himself in the weird Twilight world.
They call it that.
He looks upon the ring wraiths, now visible in their true appearance. 5 ghouls dressed in long grey robes, with white hair and pallid, ruthless faces. The Witch King extends a haggard hand towards Frodo, reaching for the ring on his finger. Frodo's trembling hand extends forwards as if by the pull of the ring. He slides to the ground, unable to pull his hand away. The Witch King snarls and springs forth. He stabs at Frodo with a wicked dagger. Frodo winces as the tip of the dagger sinks into his shoulder. Suddenly, Strider charges at the ring wraiths, wielding his sword in one hand, a flaming torch in the other. He moves in slow motion, visible through a sea of mist. Frodo sinks to the ground. Behind him is a faint image of the ring wraith fleeing, his head engulfed in flames. With draining strength, Frodo manages to pull the ring off his finger, appearing back in the real world. Sam rushes over to him.
Frodo!
Another ring wraith is burning and screaming. Others screech fearfully at the flames and turning and fleeing from Weathertop summit.
Mr. Frodo!
Strider kneels before Frodo. He snatches up the Witch King's dagger from the ground, staring bravely at the long, thin blade.
Help him, Strider! He's been stabbed by a Morgul blade.
The Morgul blade suddenly melts, vanishing into the air like smoke. Strider throws the hilt down in disgust.
Do something! This is beyond my skill to heal. He needs elvish medicine.
Strider lifts Frodo onto his shoulders. Weatherhills, night. Strider is jogging grimly, carrying an ailing Frodo on his back. Sam, Merry, and Pippin are running to keep up. The hobbits are carrying flaming torches for protection.
This is Sam, actually, right? Yeah, Sam.
Yeah.
Hurry! We are 6 days from Rivendell.
Frodo groans.
Hold on, Frodo. No, that is Strider. Hold on.
Yeah, I think actually these are correctly labeled.
Strider says hurry. That seems so.
Yeah, I think
weird.
finally calls like
Hurry!
Yeah.
But how the fuck does Sam know it's 6 days from? That seems weird.
Sam's just a nerd. He knows where Rivendell is.
Oh, yeah. We'll never make it.
Close on. Frodo, his head lolling about, barely conscious.
Gandalf? Gandalf!
Do we want to swap?
I'm pretty sure
Maybe?
Strider
Yeah.
says I'm pretty sure Strider says he'll never
He'll
make
never
it.
Wait, sorry,
Sorry,
but
well,
I just
actually,
queued
Yeah,
up.
yeah, he does. Because he know. Yeah. But he's like.
Yeah, he like places him down on the ground.
Yeah. And then he's like, we need. Anyway, yeah. It doesn't matter.
Like, I wouldn't have believed this, but just judging by the scroll bar, we are about halfway through the script.
Yeah, we're actually
If we
getting
wanted-
through it pretty
If
fast.
we wanted to do this in 2
Yeah,
readings, like, now would be a good time to stop. But
No, I
like,
think-
I'm
I think
happy
we
to
can
keep
push
going.
Yeah, I can keep going. I'm having a ton of fun.
One, alright.
But wait, really quick.
I think Tom should do the narration.
Small break and look at this clip. Like skip through it a little bit and see how it sounds with the music.
Okay.
Oh, we get clips. Oh, baby.
Oh shit! No, I have to go. I have to actually.
Wait, sorry.
But I hate listening to myself. I hate it.
Close in on Frodo. A venomous whisper dances in his head. Frodo shuts his eyes and staggers back, desperately resisting the wraith's whisperings. Slow motion,
So good.
his
I love
hand
it.
goes into his pocket and pulls out the ring. The 5 ring wraiths. Oh, that's so good.
I love the narration with that. Yeah, maybe I'll add it like a one with like all of the music behind it.
Dude,
That
that'd be
sounds
one
like
hell of a task if you do
sounds
it.
like a lot of work. Yeah.
Yeah, this is so good.
So good.
Music is doing a lot of the lifting, but
Yeah.
Music helps a lot. Okay, nice stuff. Alright.
this is Pippin, Strider, Merry, Strider.
I don't know.
Okay, Frodo it doesn't have a line, so I can do.
Oh yeah,
Frodo's
Frodo's
Frodo's big rip, so you can read.
He may never survive.
Well, let's see what else. Arwen is gonna be introduced here, I think.
Tom, you gotta do Arwen this one. Oh baby, Tom, you lucky guy.
Then yeah, Elrond's at the
There's a
end.
ranger caught off his guard. I'm looking forward.
Okay.
And I'm like, I got the blade pushed to my neck.
Give me like a second. I need to go get some ice real quick.
Sure.
Oh, by the way, I completely forgot about the fucking river scene and whatnot with the race before.
Oh yeah. Ala Nina, Ala Shana.
No,
Ala.
that one I definitely remember.
Oh, okay.
I mean the like far up with the like after they hide from the Nazgul.
Oh, the ferry.
Yeah, the ferry and like the fact that they see the Nazguls multiple times.
Man, Sam's a
Yeah.
fucking nutter though. He just ran at the Witch King, you know?
Yeah.
Fucking
And he said he called him a devil.
That was a fucking maniac.
Great. Love it. Oh,
Yeah, so
baby.
Jacko can read because Frodo's dead.
Yeah, Frodo.
Spoilers, man.
Like I said, when we were saying, Gandalf has so many fucking good lines, man. Like every line's like a
Yeah.
banger. Like they really made him like, oh baby.
It's like poetry.
Not as good as Mary's.
Isengard at night, exterior. Low angle, looking up at Orthanc, the Tower of Isengard gleaming in the moonlight. The camera rises to reveal the once beautiful gardens are now a pitted wasteland, with smoke and fire billowing out, of numerous tunnels and vent holes that litter the forecourt of Orthanc. Strange guttural chants echo from deep underground. The camera is rising. A small moth flutters into shot, and leads the camera towards the summit of Orthanc. Gandalf lies slumped against the wall at the very top of Orthanc, surrounded by a sheer 500-foot drop. He looks weak and frail, and is seemingly asleep. The moth flutters close to Gandalf. His hand suddenly moves at lightning speed and snatches the moth. Gandalf brings his hand close to his face and opens it. The moth sits on the palm of his hand as Gandalf mutters strange words in a foreign tongue. Close on the thoughts, the moth's face, seemingly listening. It suddenly flutters away. Camera follows the moth off the Orthanc summit, but drops past the moth, falling down towards a pitted wasteland, straight into a fiery red tunnel. The dead trees of Isengard are fed into roaring furnaces. Molten metal pours into casts, red-hot metal, beaten by sweating orc blacksmiths. Armor and weapons are forged from the great furnaces. Saruman strides amongst the orcs and stands looking on a newborn Uruk high as it escapes its birthing membrane. This is Lurtz, who rises up to stand before his master. Exterior Trollshaw Forest clearing, night. Close up on Frodo. His eyes flicker open, clouded, red-rimmed, his brow beaded with sweat.
Is he going to die?
Frodo breathing is getting shallow. Strider looks out into the darkness.
No. He is passing into the shadow world. He will soon become a wraith like them.
A distant cry of a ringwraith carries through the air.
They're close.
Not screechy enough.
Frodo grasps in sudden pain.
Sam, do you know the Athelas plant?
With yourself, yeah.
Sam looks blank.
Athelas? Kingsfoil. Kingsfoil, aye, it's a reed. It may help to slow the poison. Hurry.
Sam and Strider desperately search the dark forest floor for the Athelas plant. Close up on a small white flowered plant, Strider drops to one knee, carefully pulling it from the ground. Suddenly, Strider freezes as a sword blade touches his neck.
What is this? A ranger cut off his guard?
Strider slowly looks up. Frodo is breathing hard, desperately ill. Frodo's half-conscious... surreal impression. A shimmering figure in white leaps off a horse. Flash inserted an ethereal vision of Arwen as she appears on the other side.
Frodo, I'm Arwen. Tellen yet fed. I'm Arwen. I have come here to help you. Lastobethnin Tolo Danangalat. Hear my voice. Come back to the light.
Frodo's eyes close.
Who is she?
Frodo.
She's an elf.
Anglon Arwen, who now appears in her earthbound form. What? A young elven woman with tousled hair, dressed in mud-splattered riding clothes.
He's fading. He's not going to last. We must get him to my father.
Strider quickly lifts Frodo, placing him on the horse.
I've been looking for you for 2 days.
Where are you taking him?
There are 5 wraiths behind you. Where the other 4 are, I do not know.
Darso Grun Berain. Rightly Adam told us son. Stay with the hobbits. I'll send horses for you.
Arwen grabbing the reins of the horse.
Hon Mabathon, Rosh Elintim. I'll take him. I'm the faster rider.
Strider clamps his head over Arwen's.
Andulate Ivan. The road is dangerous.
Frofir. I Anthradon. Here tur Gveithnin Beriarthon. If I can cross the river, the power of my people can protect him.
What are they saying?
Arwen reaches for Strider's hand, looking deep into his eyes.
I do not fear
Look
them.
in my eyes, Tom. That was nailed on Elvish, by the way. That was good.
I can sense a love. Yeah, no.
Cold.
It's
fucking
I'm surprised how well that actually.
I was impressed.
Close on Strider, we see that it is hard for him to let her go.
Let me go, Tom.
Arwen mounts her horse, Alsforth.
Arwen. Ride hard. Don't look back.
Arwen looks down at Strider as she supports Frodo with one hand.
Norolim Asphaloth. Norolim.
What are you doing? Those wraiths are still out there.
Asphalos springs away, bearing Arwen and Frodo into the night. Through the forest from the back of the white horse, Anglon Frodo bouncing in the saddle. He lifts his head weakly. Surreal slow motion, the horse's head bobbing, trees sliding by. Moonlight flickers through the trees. Ariel of Attenmoors in the morning. Ariel of Arwen's white horse emerging from the trees. And galloping across the open land as the sun rises. Cut to the exterior of the pine forest during the day. The white horse charges through the pine forest. Suddenly 2 galloping ringwraiths emerge from the trees behind. 2 more ringwraiths slide in from different directions to join the chase. Arwen grits her teeth, urges the white horse to greater speed. Exterior the east road. The white horse speeds out the pine trees. The 4 ringwraiths close behind. Pan to 2 more ringwraiths galloping down the hillside. An aerial shot of 3 more ringwraiths. Jesus, that's a long ringwraiths. Enter frames in different directions. A total of 9 ringwraiths now pursuing Frodo and Arwen. Close up of painting head of the white elven horse. Oh. I thought it was weird. I thought it was a shot of Rivendell or something. Okay.
Norolim Asphaloth.
Exterior fort of Brunnen Day. The The camera cranes down as the white horse races towards the camera to reveal the white river Brownen in the foreground. Without hesitation, the white horse leaps into the shallow water and thunders across the ford. The 9 ringwraiths pull up short of the ford, clearly nervous of the water. The white horse reaches to the other side. Auron pulls up and turns to defiantly face the ringwraiths from across the ford.
Give up the halfling, she-elf.
She draws her sword and yells at the Witch King.
If you want him, come and claim him.
The Witch King screeches angrily, draws his sword, and leads the ringwraiths across the ford. The water starts flowing faster. A distant rumble can be heard. Auron waits until they are halfway across. She suddenly stands in the saddle, arms raised.
No shithlir, lasto bether, rimo nimbrien danualer. Ninot shithlir, lasto bether, rimo nimbrien danualer.
Very good, very good. The ground suddenly trembles. A mighty roar fills the air. Frodo looks up weakly to see a vast torrent of water flooding down the river towards the ford, as if a dam had burst. That's the second movie. The foaming water seems to form the shape of dancing white horses with frothing manes. The ringwraiths scream in terror as they're swallowed up in the deluge. Their piercing cries are drowned in the roaring of the river as it carries them away. Close up of Frodo as he loses consciousness.
No, Frodo, no. Frodo, don't give in. Not now.
Arwen gathers the small hobbit in her arms, feeling his life slip away.
Okay,
Delirious
now
images of
Frodo's
sound.
back.
Oh yeah.
And then there's
Frodo and
Arwen.
Gandalf say a lot.
Wait, isn't there like a scene of Elrond like in the vision like?
We got Saruman, we got Frodo, we got Gandalf.
No, but like as Elrond is praying, I'm like 100% sure like Elrond like showed up in a vision and it's like, and then he wakes up.
Moment and doesn't say anything, right?
Possibly. I think
100%.
Tom is our choice of narrator here.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I believe.
Judging
so.
by who's coming up.
Yeah. Oh, one's Jacko. Yeah, I think Tom. Yeah.
Somewhere we
Just before 66. Why not? I lied.
Frodo's delirium.
Yeah. Frodo's interior, Frodo's delirium. Delirious images and sounds. What grace is given me, let it pass to him. Let him be spared, save him. Image. A bright light suddenly flares. Frodo squeezes his eyes shut, gasping.
Where am I?
A familiar voice cuts through the swirl of sound.
You are in the House of Elrond, and it is 10 o'clock in the morning on October the 24th, if you want to know.
Frodo's eyes flicker open. He is lying in bed next to an open window. Dappled sunlight plays on richly carved timbers. The sound of a nearby waterfall drifts through the vista of fir trees.
Gandalf!
Gandalf is sitting next to Frodo's bed, softly putting on his pipe. He smiles at Frodo.
Yes, I'm here, and you're lucky to be here too. A few more hours and you would have been beyond our aid. You have some strength in you, my dear hobbit.
Frodo sits up, looking at Gandalf questioningly.
What happened, Gandalf? Why didn't you meet us?
I'm sorry, Frodo.
Gandalf is troubled. His eyes drift away.
I was delayed.
Orthank's summit. Saruman stands over Gandalf, gloating.
Get up. So much for the power of the ring, or embrace your own destruction.
It needs embrace.
I
don't know what that.
Yeah.
With the power of his staff, Saruman raises Gandalf from the ground and then sends him crashing to the floor.
There is only one Lord of the Ring, only one who can bend it to his will, and he does not share power.
Suddenly, Gandalf lurches to his feet and throws himself off the tower. Saruman watches Gandalf fly away from Isengard on the back of a giant eagle.
So you have chosen death.
Skies over mountains dawn. Greyhair the eagle soars majestically over the mountains, carrying Gandalf towards the dawn.
You're learning so much.
Elrond is Jacko.
Dude, you didn't know Greyhair? I knew Greyhair.
You didn't know.
He's like the
I didn't
king
know
of the
it was
Eagles or
Greyhair.
whatever.
I know who the guy
the-
it was him, and like in that
Oh,
scene.
yeah, I guess I didn't know 100%.
Yeah, sure.
That's true, that's true.
Like it could have been any old eagle.
Yeah, yeah. That's true, definitely.
Like, I'm really sad. If I just interrupt for a second, I'm really sad that we learned earlier that like the Hobbit that gets chopped at by the ring wraith was like a fatal blow. Like, you know, it's kind of
Yeah.
slightly, you know, when he's riding through Hobbiton at the
I thought you could hear like a head fall or something.
like,
No,
man.
no, you don't see a headful, you don't see
Or
it.
maybe you hear it, right? You hear it like.
Yeah, you hear
Like a thud.
something, maybe
Ah,
it's
yeah.
his back.
Just
It's
Sure.
Anyway, confirmed face.
When it was like they called it the Twilight World, I find that quite interesting.
Yeah.
I always thought it was like the Wraith World or the Wraith Realm.
Yeah.
And what's the point of it turning into a wraith? Why don't they have just tons of wraiths then? You just casually makes
A
wraiths
Morgul
sword?
Blade.
The Nine haven't acted for like thousands of years, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's true. They haven't like it hasn't been out of Minas Morgul in a long time. That's why
Yeah.
Gandalf's so like, what the
Maybe
fuck?
they
When he
maybe
did
they
that.
used to be. I don't know if they're.
Why don't you just kidnap people and take them to Minuscule? Like,
But I think like Wraiths.
Well, I think they're like.
There are multiple Wraiths. It's not
Yeah.
just the 9 ring Wraiths. There are.
Like there's a whole like Dun Bulgur or whatever where they've in the books they found like the weapons, which
Yeah,
is like
yeah,
full
the
of
barrow
ghosts.
downs, barrow
The
downs,
barrow
yeah.
downs. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay, so I guess there just aren't any other wraiths in the movie.
There's no other.
The Wraith CGI was expensive, okay?
Yeah, back in
And it's-
2000, no baby.
It doesn't really hold up.
Hey,
Oh, the race does, but I'm thinking of the ghosts of the return.
Anyway,
Okay.
Oh yeah, let's continue. Tom, I think still Tom. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, Frodo's bedroom, Rivendell. Frodo raises himself up and looks at Gandalf.
Gandalf? What is it?
Gandalf returns his attention to Frodo.
Nothing, Frodo.
Sam runs to Frodo's bedside. He is overjoyed to find Frodo awake.
Frodo, bless you, you're awake.
Sam has hardly left your side.
We were right about you, weren't we, Mr. Gandalf?
By the skills of Lord Elrond, you're beginning to mend.
Elrond, Lord of the High Elves, steps up to Frodo's bedside. His face is neither old nor young, though in it is written the memory of many things, both glad and sorrowful.
Welcome to Rivendell, Frodo Baggins.
Frodo sits up, looking at Elrond with awe. Rivendell Valley. Rivendell, a small cluster of elegant elven buildings sitting in a Shangri-La-like valley below towering cliffs and snow-capped mountains.
Oh shit, I don't remember. You have found your way to the last homely house east of the sea. The elves of Imladris have dwelt within this valley for 3,000 years, though few of my kin now remain.
I don't remember any of that power.
No, I don't think that's in
Yeah,
the movie.
I remember it's a voiceover. It is there. It's just as the
Oh,
camera
okay.
sweeps.
Oh,
over.
Oh,
yeah,
maybe,
that
sure,
makes
sure.
sense. Sure. There's a voiceover.
Frodo looks out from his balcony.
Frodo looks out from his balcony. Rivendell Gardens. Frodo and Sam walk together. Suddenly, the voices of Merry and Pippin can be heard as they bound up to Frodo and throw their arms around him.
Frodo!
Sam looks past Frodo smiling. A bent figure sits alone on a bench in the sun. Close on, Frodo turning, following Sam's gaze.
Bilbo!
Rivendell Terrace. Bilbo Baggins. He breaks into a broad grin as Frodo rushes forward to embrace him. Bilbo has aged significantly since we last saw him. Hello, Frodo, my lad.
Bilbo!
Later, Frodo is turning the neat
Later.
of a red leather-bound journal.
There I'm back again. A Hobbit's Tale. By Bilbo Baggins.
Bilbo smiles proudly. He is sitting with Frodo on a terrace overlooking a waterfall. Frodo looks at page after page of beautiful handwriting, intricate maps, and drawings.
This is
Someone else should
wonderful.
take over now, I think, for the narration part.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
I'll
this is
just
Bilbo.
grab it quickly while Bilbo's in, and then you can,
Yeah.
We're doesn't that
or
much.
whoever. Yeah, exactly.
What's the whole like scene, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Anyway,
This is-
from Frodo.
This is wonderful.
I meant to go back, wander the paths of Mirkwood, visit Lakedown, see the lonely mountain again, but age, it seems, has finally caught up with me.
Frodo turns a page. There, before him, is a map of the Shire.
I miss the Shire. I spent all of my childhood pretending I was off somewhere else. Off with you, on one of your adventures. But my own adventure turned out to be quite different. I'm not like you, Bilbo.
My dear boy.
Rivendell Terrace, that evening. Sam busily tries to stuff more and more things into his already full pack. Pots and pans, blankets, cooking utensils, provisions, clothes.
No, what I've forgotten.
pull back to reveal Frodo, hands in his pockets, watching Sam.
Packed already?
Sam looks up, startled.
No harm in being prepared.
Frodo strolls to the edge of the balcony.
I thought you wanted to see the elves, Sam.
I do.
More than anything.
I did. It's just, we did what Gandalf wanted, didn't we? We got doing this far to Rivendell, and I thought, seeing as how you're on the mend, we'll be off soon, off home.
You're right, Sam. We did what we set out to do.
Frodo opens his hand. The ring sits in his palm.
I grab it. It's like, please.
The ring will be safe in Rivendell. I'm ready to go home.
Someone else narrate real quick while it's Gandalf now.
Sorry, you know you go.
Spellcheck isn't in
Gandalf,
Mr. Anderson.
Elrond Chambers, Rivendell. Gandalf or Elrond? Elrond. I don't know why that name's so hard for me. Elrond watch Frodo and Sam from Elrond's balcony across the area.
His strength returns.
The wound will never fully heal. He will carry it with the rest of his life.
And yet, to have come so far still bearing the ring, the Hobbit has shown extraordinary resilience to its evil.
It's a burden he should never have had to bear. I can ask no more of Frodo.
Gandalf, the enemy is moving. Sauron's forces are massing in the east. His eye is fixed on Rivendell. And Saruman, you tell me, has betrayed us. Our list of allies grows thin.
Treachery runs deeper than you know. By foul craft, Saruman has crossed orc with goblin men. He is breeding an army in the caverns of Isengard. An army that can move in sunlight and cover great distance at speed. Saruman is coming for the ring.
Elrond turns and walks away.
This evil cannot be concealed by the power of the elves. We do not have the strength to fight both Mordor and Isengard. Gandalf, the ring cannot stay here.
Gandalf turns and looks out the window. Sounds of arrivals. Gandalf watches as Boromir rides through Rivendell's gates, followed by Legolas and Gimli.
This peril belongs to all Middle-earth. They must decide how to end it, not just for themselves, but for those who come after.
Elrond approaches Gandalf.
The time of the elves is over. My people are leaving these shores. Who will you look to when we have gone? The dwarves? They hide in their mountains seeking riches. They care nothing for the troubles of others.
It is in men that we must place our hope.
Men? Men are weak. The race of men is failing. The blood of Numenor is all but spent, its pride and dignity forgotten. It is because of men the ring survives.
With the broken sword, Isildur slashes off Sauron's finger. Elrond reacts.
I was there, Gandalf. I was there 3,000 years ago when Isildur took the ring.
Flash insert. Isildur picks up the ring, stares at it, trance.
I was there the day the strength of men failed.
Crack of doom. Interior.
Isildur! Hurry! Follow me!
Elrond leads Isildur into the steaming volcano.
I led Isildur into the heart of Mount Doom, where the ring was forged. The one place it could be destroyed.
Elrond and Isildur stands before the fires of Mount Doom.
Cast it into the fire! Destroy it!
Isildur, captivated by the ring.
No.
We're
Oh, Lord, on this blessed day.
Isildur turns and walks away.
Isildur!
It's delivery.
Elrond's chamber. I'm pretty sure that's Elrond's.
Yeah.
It's Elrond's distant cousin, yeah. This has a room. Anyway, Elrond turns to Gandalf.
It should have ended that day, but evil was allowed to endure. Isildur kept the ring, and the line of kings was broken. There is no strength left in the world of men. They're scattered, divided, leaderless.
There is one who could unite them. One who could reclaim the throne of Gondor.
He turned from that path a long time ago. He has chosen exile.
Okay, now there's gonna be a lot
Yeah,
of
this is a lot of Arwen,
Boromir.
Boromir, and
Aragorn.
Yeah.
Chris or Jack who should narrate.
I can do it.
Yeah, go ahead. I just did it like a little bit recently.
Strider watches from the shadows as Boromir strolls through the darkened gallery. Boromir's eyes are drawn to an old fresco on the wall, depicting Isildur defeating Sauron. Boromir looks with wonderment at Narsil, the broken blade of Elendil, which lies on a cloth-covered plinth.
The shards of Narsil, the blade that cut the ring of Sauron's hand.
Boromir picks up the sword and gently touches the blade. Close-up of a small bloom of blood appearing on Boromir's finger.
Still sharp.
Boromir senses Strider's presence. He looks from the blade to Strider, as if sensing a connection.
But no more than a broken heirloom.
Boromir replaces the broken blade, but it clatters to the floor. Ching, 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 ching.
It's rude.
Boromir walks away, leaving Strider sitting alone. Close-up of Strider picking up the broken hilt, as Arwen appears behind him.
Why do you fear the past? You're Isildur's heir, not Isildur himself. You are not bound to his fate.
The same blood flows in my veins, the same weakness.
Your time will come. You will face the same evil, and you will defeat it. Si idwath o Arthur Aragorn. U orle aurnin. The shadow does not hold sway yet. Not over you and not over me.
It's a lot of Elvish coming up.
It's a hard scene, but you guys chose your fate.
Tommy better look good in my eyes, but I can't RP properly.
Exterior, Rivendell Valley, night. Night falls upon the beautiful valley of Rivendell, still and quiet. Strider and Arwen stand upon a stone bridge. The even star at Arwen's breast shines in the moonlight.
Do you remember when we first met?
Nasunanim I Ned or Venien. I thought I strayed into a dream.
Arwen reaches up and gently touches the grey at Strider's temples.
Gwenin in Inyath, Uarnech Innaeth Iesekelich. Long years have passed. You did not have the care you carry now.
Arwen looks romantically into Strider's eyes.
Renech Ibeth Ipenen. Do you remember what I told you?
Arwen reaches for Strider's hand.
You said you'd bind yourself to me, forsaking the immortal life of your people.
And that I hold. I would rather share one lifetime with you than face all the ages of this world alone.
Strider looks down. In his hand lies the even star.
I choose a mortal life.
You cannot give me this.
It is mine to give to whom I will, like my heart.
Arwen closes Strider's fingers around the jewel. Arwen leans towards Strider, gently kissing him. Guys, come on, guys. Alright. Interior Council Chamber, Rivendell Day.
No, it shouldn't be Jack anymore. There's a lot of L1.
A lot of
Oh,
L1.
should we have them Legolas? Oh, fuck.
Oh god.
Like, I'm trying to figure out
One of the
who.
600.
I think it should be Chris here. I think, no,
Okay,
it should be
but-
Tom. Sorry, I think it should be Tom. I think.
What the fuck does Legolas sound like? Oh.
Tom.
Yeah, it
Arwen
picks up with Gandalf later in the scene, so I think it should be Tom.
I think it should be Tom.
Can you guys give me a Legolas line real quick? What does he say in the movies? What's
I
the
don't
classic?
remember, that's Julie.
How's he say?
Shall I like me to describe it to you, or shall I find you a box?
You want me to describe
Or
it to you?
he says.
Okay, a bit of Orlando Bloom, okay. A little bit of Will Turner. Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Well turned, yeah.
Okay, so who's doing? I think Tom probably should do it.
Sure.
I think Tom's our best choice for narrator here.
Because if there's random voices, I think as well that Tom can just ease into.
Yeah, I think if it's like really short lines to narrate, you can do it for each.
Random
Yeah.
voices? Okay, sure.
Right.
Maybe.
Interior Council Chamber, Rivendell Day. Elrond addresses the council.
Strangers from distant lands, friends of all, you have been summoned here to answer the threat of Mordor. I got there. Middle Earth stands upon the brink of destruction. None can escape it. You will unite, or you will fall. Each race is bound to this fate, this one doom.
Frodo sits amongst the council of free peoples of Middle-earth. Elrond stands before them, addressing Gandalf, Strider, Legolas, and 20 other elves, dwarves, and men.
Bring forth the ring, Frodo.
Frodo steps forward and moves towards the stone plinth. He places the ring on the plinth and returns to his seat.
It is true.
Sauron's ring. The ring of power.
The doom. God damn it, how do you do this?
No.
The Doom of Man.
Think dwarf. Think
Doom of
dwarf.
Man?
Yeah.
Right. I'm gonna get into it.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
You know,
We have a lot of time. Now we have a lot of
Now you got Boromir here, so off you go.
Well, Moria's coming up, so
it is a gift.
A gift to foes of a gift to the foes of Mordor. Why not use this ring? Long has my father, the steward of Gondor, held the forces of Mordor at bay, kept the blood of our people by your lands. By the blood of our people, are your lands kept safe? Give Gondor the weapon of the enemy. Let us use it against him.
You cannot wield it. None of us can. The One Ring answers to Sauron alone, and it has no other master.
Boromir turns and looks at Strider coolly.
You wanna fucking go?
Coolly with 2 L's as well.
What does the Ranger know about this matter?
Strider says nothing, and Boromir turns away. Legolas.
Boromir has no idea who he's talking to. I love it.
You wanna go?
Fucking
bro? You
dumbass.
wanna go?
Do you know-
he's like the most OP human in the world. Like,
Good point, mate.
It's like when you
No,
choose someone like,
yeah.
I'm the author, like...
yeah,
I'm actually the descendant of Isildur.
I'm basically the wish fulfillment character. Okay. This is no mere ranger. He is Aragorn, son of Arathorn. You owe him your allegiance.
Frodo looks at Strider questioningly. Boromir turns sharply.
Aragorn. This is Isildur's heir?
An heir to the throne of Gondor.
Have a dad, Legolas. Sit down, Legolas.
Gondor needs no king.
Chris.
Oh, it's like been a while. Aragorn is right. We cannot use it.
You only have one choice. The ring must be destroyed.
The hum of the ring seems to grow louder in Frodo's ears. Gimli suddenly stands, excited.
Then, what are we waiting for?
Best line in the film.
What are we waiting for? Well, he says it also in the third one, right? Small chance of success.
Yeah.
What are we waiting for?
I'm just
I like that one a
confused. Why is there
lot.
so much more script after? Doesn't he just destroy it here? And
Yeah, right.
Gimli suddenly rushes forward. He swings his axe down on the ring. The axe shatters with a deafening crack. Gimli falls backward, staring in disbelief at the ring, unharmed. Frodo winces as an angry image of the fiery eye hits him. He slumps in his chair, clutching his forehead. Gandalf looks at him with concern.
The ring cannot be destroyed, Gimli, son of Gloin, by any craft that we here possess. The ring was made in the fires of Mount Doom. Only there it can be unmade. It must be taken deep into Mordor, and cast back into the fiery chasm from whence it came. One of you must do this.
Stunned silence. The council sits with downcast eyes, as if a great dread has descended on them. Boromir addresses the council in a quiet voice.
Patrick, you must do this.
Come on.
Let's not simply walk into Mordor. Its black gates are guarded by more than just orcs. There's evil there that does not sleep. The great eye is ever watchful. It is a barren wasteland riddled with fire and ash, dust. The very air you breathe is a poisonous fume. Not with 10,000 men could you do this. It's a folly.
Have you heard nothing Lord Elrond has said? The ring must be destroyed.
And I suppose you're the one to do it. And if we fail, what then? What happens when Sauron takes back what is his?
Gimli leaps to his feet.
I'll be dead before I see the ring in the hand of an elf.
Rubber.
Frodo, sound disappears as he watches in slow motion. The angry faces, the shaking fists, accusatory fingers. His eyes move across the ring. The hum grows louder in his head.
Never trust an elf.
Goes on. The ring fills the screen.
That's such a good
Streams of
scene.
blood flow across the
Some
scene.
good lines.
Flames flicker within the gold band.
Do you not understand? While we bicker amongst ourselves, Sauron's power grows. None will escape it. You will all be destroyed, your homes burned, your families put to the sword.
Close on. Frodo breathing rapidly, caught in the grip of his hideous vision. With a huge effort of will, Frodo tears his gaze upon the ring. Upon the ring.
From the ring.
From-
you should say,
From the
right?
ring, I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Frodo suddenly stands. He speaks in a strong, clear voice.
I will take it. I will take it. I will take the ring to Mordor.
Sudden silence. Frodo looks around the room at the astounded faces.
So, I do not know the way.
Gandalf rises to his feet.
I will help you bear this burden, Frodo Baggins, as long as it is yours to bear.
If, by my life or death, I can protect you, I will.
Kneels before Frodo.
You have my sword.
Aragorn steps forward, followed by Legolas and Gimli.
And you have my bow.
And my axe.
Give me a good line.
Like, every Gimli line is like upshining the previous one. It's like, so, and my axe. So
Boromir
good.
looks at them all and walks towards Frodo.
You carry the fate of all of us, little one.
Boromir looks towards Elrond and Gandalf.
If this is indeed the will of the council, then Gondor will see it done.
Frodo stares in wonder as the greatest fighters in all Middle-earth stand at his side.
Well, Sam isn't there yet.
Sudden noise. Sam pops up from behind a bush.
RKO out of nowhere. Sorry.
Frodo's not going anywhere without me.
No, indeed. It is hardly possible to separate you, even when he is summoned to a secret council, and you are not.
Merry and Pippin jump up from behind another bush.
Oi, we're coming too. You'll have to send us home tied up in a sack to stop us.
Wait, you'll need people of intelligence on this mission. Quest. Thing.
Well, that rules you out, Pip.
Elrond surveys the group.
9 companions. So be it. You shall be the Fellowship of the Ring.
Where are we going?
This is sort of
I
Bilbo.
didn't realize how many great lines we were handing over to Podtrack.
It's Bilbo.
Yeah. I mean, we should like Bilbo, Gimli, Boromir.
Do you want to read? Do you want to narrate in? I feel like you haven't
No, I
narrated in
think,
a
I
while.
think this is good. Yeah, I haven't yet.
Okay. Interior, Frodo's bedroom, Rivendell. Close up. An old sword sliding out of a shabby leather scabbard. It's polished, well tended. Blade glitters cold and bright.
My old sword, Sting. Here, take it.
Bilbo offers Sting to Frodo.
It's so light.
Yes, made by the elves, you know. The blade glows blue when orcs are close. And it's times like that, my lad, when you have to be extra careful.
Bilbo unwraps a small shirt of close woven mail.
Here's the pretty thing. Mithril. As light as a feather and as hard as dragon scales. Let me see you put it on. Come on.
Close up of Frodo as he peels off his shirt, revealing the ring on the chain around his neck.
Oh, my old ring.
Goes in.
Frodo frowns as Bilbo moves towards him. Sorry.
I should very much like to hold it again. One
Bilbo
last time.
Bilbo reaches forward, eyes locked on the ring. Suddenly, a shadow passes across Bilbo. For a split second, he becomes a wrinkled creature with a hungry face and bony, groping hands. Frodo pulls
Sound
away.
Tom. Do the sound, Tom.
The shadow passes. Tom, do it!
Scary Bilbo, scary Bilbo.
Do the scary bit. Yes.
Bilbo slumps into a chair, his head in his hands.
Got the exact sound.
Bilbo falters, his eyes filling with tears.
Oh, I'm sorry that I brought this upon you, my boy. I'm sorry that you must carry this burden. I'm sorry for everything.
Bilbo sobs, and Frodo moves to comfort him. Exterior of Rivendell Valley.
The Fellowship climbed a long, steep path out of the cloven vale of Rivendell. The rough country south of Rivendell, the Fellowship trekking through a land of deep valleys and turbulent waters. The misty mountains rise sharply to their left.
We must hold to this course west of the Misty Mountains for 40 days. If our luck holds, the Gap of Rohan will still be open to us. From there, our road turns east to Mordor.
Exterior, Eregion Hills at dawn. Close-up of Sam at the campfire. The sound of clashing swords. In wider vision, Aragorn and Boromir are giving Pippin sword tuition.
Good luck,
Oh, yeah, just keep on going in. I think there's like not too much
Sure,
in all
yeah,
this.
yeah.
Get away from the blade, Pippin. On your toes. Good, very good. I want you to react, not think.
Should not be too hard.
Move your feet.
Quite good, Pippin.
Thanks.
Close up. Gimli has managed to corner Gandalf.
If anyone would ask my opinion, which I note that they have not, I would say we are taking the long way around. Gandalf, we can pass through the mines of Moria. My cousin Balin would give us a royal welcome.
Gandalf clearly thinks this is a bad idea.
No, Gimli. I would not take the road through Moria unless I had no other choice.
Boromir thrusts, catching Pippin on the hand. Pippin throws down his sword, kicks and lunges at Boromir, tackling him to the ground. Much laughter. Legolas' eyes are fixed on a distant dark patch which darts across the sky, like flying smoke in the wind. What is that?
Nothing. Just like a wisp of smoke.
Now you're Boromir as well.
Now you're Boromir, yeah.
Oh, it's moving fast. Fast. Against the wind.
Crobane from Dunland.
Hide!
Merry, Pippin, Sam, take cover.
Wide shot as the Fellowship scramble under what little cover there is, as a regiment of large crows fly low overhead at great speed, wheeling and circling above. As a dark shadow passes over the Fellowship, a single harsh croak is heard, and the crows suddenly wheel away back towards the south. Gandalf staggers to his feet.
Spies of Saruman. The passage south is being watched.
Gandalf looks at Aragorn, turns to the others, gesturing towards a high mountain pass.
We must take the pass of Caradhras.
I think maybe Tom should do it now.
Yeah, I can.
Tom won't speak for a while because he's not got any people in the Fellowship.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it feels bad, man. Come on.
Feels bad. Should have gone earlier, you know.
Narrate, Tom, come on. Do us the 82.
Snowy mountainside day. The Fellowship clamber through rock and snow. Close up, Frodo slips on some shale. As he scrambles to his feet, the ring falls on the ground. The ring gleaming in the snow. Boromir's hand picks it up by the chain. He stands, the ring dangling before his eyes. He seems to grow in stature, as if absorbing its power. Aragorn warily approaches Boromir. Boromir is motionless. He stares at the ring, as if transfixed.
Boromir.
It is strange that we should suffer so much fear, doubt over such a small thing. Such a little thing.
And you get all some good lines. Boromir, give the ring to Frodo.
Aragorn's hand moves to his sword hilt. Rings POV, looking up at Boromir's face. The strange hum vibrates on the sound. Close on, a weird, beautiful
Beatific.
smile. Beatific smile. Is that a word?
Yeah, beatific, yes it is.
Beatific smile lights up Boromir's face. The hum grows to a deafening roar. Boromir suddenly snaps out of his trance and hands the ring back to Frodo.
As you wish. I cannot.
Boromir smiles at Frodo, ruffling his hair.
Yeah, I roll insight.
Aragorn unhands his sword.
I bet he cares.
Exterior Isengard today. Following the crows
good
as they
scene, good
move
scene.
deeper and deeper, passing a vista of industry, hundreds of orcs and written birth sacks. Flying past Saruman, who stands up on a wooden gantry. Close on, Saruman listening to the cries of the crows.
So, Gandalf, you try to lead them over Caradhras. If that fails, where will you go?
The Fellowship struggles through the snow.
If the mountain defeats you, will you risk a more dangerous road?
So many good lines.
Exterior, passive Caradhras.
I didn't realize what we were giving the pod track.
Right? Oh my god, it's so good.
The Fellowship are struggling through a blinding blizzard. Up towards the pass of Karatras, Legolas the elf moves lightly across the top of the snow. He suddenly pauses. Saruman's voice sweeps by in the wind.
There is a fell voice in the air.
It's Saruman!
Thunder rumbles.
Imagine
Rock and
it's
shale
another one.
fall from above.
He's trying to bring down the mountain! Gandalf, we must turn back!
No!
Gandalf raises his staff. He chants into the wind.
Losto Caradras, Sedho Hodo, Nuitho Iruith. I guess subtitled Sleep Kahadras, be still, lie still, hold your wrath.
That's pretty cool to know.
Yeah, I don't remember that being subtitled in the
No,
film.
it's
No,
not.
it definitely wasn't. It wasn't.
Yeah,
something.
No.
A lot
It's
of
even hard to like make out the words like.
Yeah.
Like Sir Isengard, camera sweeps past Saruman. He stands on the summit of Orthanc, chanting. Clouds are flowing from all directions, converging on the distant mountains in a stormy maelstrom. Stir pass of Karatras. Saruman's voice strengthens, rolling past the Fellowship like thunder. A lightning crack explodes on the mountainside above them. Frodo looks up in horror as a huge snow avalanche thunders down towards them. The Fellowship throw themselves against the cliff face as snow crashes onto the narrow ledge. Legolas pulls Gandalf to safety. Aragorn shields Frodo and Sam as snow piles around them. Within moments, the pass is blocked and the Fellowship are enveloped in snow. Boromir and Aragorn frantically dig for the hobbits, who are pulled out shivering and fearful.
We must get off the mountain. Make for the Gap of Rohan and make the west road to my city.
The Gap of Rohan takes us too close to Isengard.
We cannot pass over the mountain. Let us go under it. Let us go through the mines of Moria.
Gandalf has a concerned look on his face.
Moria? You fear to go into those mines, don't you? The dwarves delve too greedily and too deep. You know what they have woken within the darkness of Khazad Dûm. Shadow and flame.
Let the ring bearer decide.
Close on. Frodo, the weight of the decision weighing heavily upon him. Close on. Merry and Pippin, shivering in Boromir's arms.
Frodo?
Frodo meets Gandalf's eye.
We will go through the mines.
Gandalf slowly nods.
So be it.
Exterior, Moria Gate. The Fellowship are walking along the far shore of Dark Lake, directly below Great Looming Cliffs.
The walls of Moria.
Footing is treacherous on the narrow strip of green and greasy stones. Gandalf touches the smooth rock wall between the trees. Slowly, faint lines appear like slender veins of luminous silver running through the snow.
Yitidin. It mirrors only starlight and moonlight.
A large moon rises over the mountains. The lines grow broader and clearer, forming a glowing arch of interlacing ancient letters and symbols.
Melon.
It reads, The door of Durin, Lord of Moria. Speak friend and enter. What do you suppose that means? Oh, it's quite simple. If you are a friend, speak the password and the doors will open.
Gandalf raises his arms.
Anon ed Helen, edrohi amen.
The cliff towers into the night. The wind blows cold, Frodo shivers, and the door stands fast. Gandalf continues. Mumbling spells, he efforts to open the door. Sam packs pots and pans.
paid enough for this shit.
Watching sadly as Aragorn unsaddles Bill the pony. Aragorn whispering to Bill the pony.
Mines are no place for a pony, even one as brave as Bill. Bye, Bill. Go on, Bill. Go on. Don't worry, Sam. He knows his way home.
Aragorn slaps Bill in the rump. Bill goes trotting off. Close on. Sam watching Bill disappear into the darkness.
Goodbye, Bill.
Splash. Merry and Pippin are tossing stones into the lake. Black rippling rings slowly fan out. Pippin is about to throw another stone, but Aragorn grabs his arm.
Do not disturb the water.
Aragorn watches anxiously as the ripples appear to grow. He exchanges a look with Boromir. Aragorn's hand creeps towards his sword. Gandalf gives up in despair. He sits down beside Frodo. Close up. Frodo peers at the Elvish inscription. His face breaks into a smile of comprehension.
It's a riddle.
Gandalf raises his eyebrows.
Speak, friend, and enter. What's the Elvish for friend?
Oh, melon.
No! No!
Melon.
With that, the rock face silently divides in the middle and two great doors swing outwards, revealing a blackness deeper than the night. As the Fellowship enter the blackness, something in the water stirs. Including Moria Gate. The Fellowship step warily into the darkness of Moria, a dank cavern,
So
winding steps leading deeper into the mountain.
So, Master Elf, you will enjoy the fabled hospitality of the dwarfs. Roaring fire, malt beer, red meat off the bone. This, my friend, is the home of my cousin, Balin. And they call this a mine. A mine!
It's a
So Podrick's fucking nailing it as well. Like, I'm really enjoying this. It's like, it's so good.
Oh man, I didn't realize how many good lines Gimli has.
He's really giving the whole movie character.
Oh my.
Also, Sam Man speaks a lot in the first half of the movie.
Yeah.
Actually, huh?
Yeah.
I didn't
Nice
realize
later,
that.
don't worry about it.
Also, I
Yeah,
gotta
yeah,
say, judging by the position of my scroll bar, there must be a lot of like contracted action in the Mines of Moria.
Yeah, we're not that far away.
Like,
I feel like we're only halfway through. We talked.
yeah, I know. I just
Amandine.
briefly checked, and like on the timeline of the film, the Council of Elrond is about halfway through, and we were
Okay.
slightly past halfway through at that point, but still.
It
Like,
just feels like
yeah.
so much happens in the later half.
There's a lot of,
Anyway.
like that big action scene, of course. It's probably...
Yeah, that's true. There's a lot of action scenes.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway, a glow from Gandalf's staff. Tom.
A glow from Gandalf's staff suddenly lights the chamber. The Fellowship recoil in horror. Many dwarf skeletons are strewn about, clearly the dead of some old battle. The rusting armor and shields are peppered with arrows and axes.
This is no mine. It's a tomb.
Oh, bangers.
No. No.
Legolas pulls a crude arrow out of his coat.
Goblins!
The Fellowship draws swords and back away, towards the entrance.
We make for the Gap of Rohan. We should never come here.
Exterior, Moria Gate. Frodo is suddenly pulled to the ground. A sinewy tentacle is wrapped around Frodo's ankle and is dragging him towards the lake. Frodo cries out as Aragorn and Boromir rush forward,
Aragorn!
severs the tentacle holding Frodo and pulls him to safety. Boromir hacks at the other writhing limbs. 20 more tentacles ripple out of the lake. The
20.
dark water boils as the hideous beast lashes out at the Fellowship. Again, the creature grabs Frodo and pulls him to the lake. Frodo is flung in the air as the Fellowship battles the creature. Aragorn hacks at the tentacle, Frodo's released, falling into Boromir's.
Into the mines!
Lego.
Legolas shoots an arrow into the creature's head, killing a several seconds for Aragorn and Boromir as they race out of the water with Frodo. The Fellowship hurriedly back away from the creature, retreating into the Moria chamber as his many coiling arms seize the large doors. With a shattering echo, the creature rips the doors away, creating a rock slide that crashes down the cliff face. Within seconds, tons of rock seal the doorway, throwing the Fellowship into pitch blackness.
Man, if this is like true to like the original scripts, Peter Jackson's done a great thing with like describing the scene. With
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Great
Peter
visual.
Jackson did obviously, clearly, he's got a very transformative vision of this. I mean, it's not it's badly written or anything, but like it doesn't have. I feel like the spark of how good the films were is not necessarily like from the script. I feel like a lot of it's from the acting and Peter Jackson's direction, which is probably true with all good films, right? But, like,
Yeah.
there's definitely a lot
They
that he
did
brought to this.
so many revolutionary things in this film. It's
Yeah,
crazy, man.
Anyway,
As it should be, It should be.
Yeah. All great films.
A faint light rises from Gandalf's staff, throwing a creepy glow across the old
Creepy.
wizard's face.
I love that they had to mark this as ominous just in case you couldn't
Yeah.
tell. It was like, we now have but one choice. We must face the long dark of Moria, Be on your guard. There are older and fouler things than the orcs in the deep places of the world.
Interior, New Chamber, Moria. Wide on. The Fellowship crossing a precarious bridge above deep mine working.
Quietly now. It's a 4-day journey to the other side. Let us hope that our presence will go unnoticed.
Interior, Moria Cemetery Cavern.
Cemetery.
They continue up a steep stair, passing through a dwarf cemetery. The graves are despoiled. Dwarf skeletons are strewn about and goblin graffiti scrawled on monuments in dried dwarf blood. The atmosphere is very sinister.
And I need whoever wrote this to be a DM for, like, you know, it's got this great atmosphere. For, like,
It's like $1 million, man. I'm like, man, I wish my characters could be like this.
Yeah, right.
Choosing those words. Yeah.
Moria Tunnel. The path splits into 3 passages, each disappearing into dark tunnels. Gandalf pauses, frowning.
I have no memory of this place.
He said
Later, the Fellowship are nervously waiting, while Gandalf sits, staring intently at the 3 tunnel mouths in front of him. He appears to be in some kind of trance. Close on, Frodo. He turns at the sound of a faint noise down the tunnel behind him.
Are we lost?
No, I don't think we are. Shh, Gandalf's thinking.
Mary,
What?
I'm hungry.
A sudden glimpse of a creature darting in the darkness. Frodo is nervous. He approaches Gandalf.
Frodo.
Jedi Knight is a Jedi.
He's voicing Frodo, though.
There's something down there.
It's Gollum.
Gollum?
He's been following us for 3 days.
Teasing shot. Emaciated, leering creature.
He escaped the dungeons of Barad-dûr?
Escaped, or was set loose. And now the ring has drawn him here. He will never be rid of his need for it. He hates and loves the ring, as he hates and loves himself. Smeagol's life is a sad story.
Gandalf catches Frodo's look of surprise.
Yes, Smeagol he was once called, before the ring came to him, before it drove him mad.
Gollum's withered fingers are gripping the cave wall. His large, luminous eyes blinking with malice.
Apparently when they made that scene in the first movie, they hadn't quite conceived of like Gollum's look yet.
Yeah.
It looks
It's also a really ominous thing to say to Frodo as he's like carrying the ring around.
Right? Yeah.
It's a pity Bilbo didn't kill him when he had the chance.
Pity. It was pity that stayed Bilbo's hand. Many that live deserve death, and some that die deserve life. Can you give it to them, Frodo?
Frodo frowns.
Do not be too eager to deal out death in judgment. Even the very wise cannot see all ends. My heart tells me that Gollum still has some part to play yet, for good or for ill, before this is over. The pity of Bilbo may rule the fate of many.
I wish the ring had never come to me. I wish none of this had happened.
So do all who live to see such times. But that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us.
I was going to tell Beck that. I need my Gandalf.
There is a note of finality in Gandalf's voice.
There are other forces at work in this world, Frodo, besides the will of evil. Bilbo was meant to find the ring, in which case you were also meant to have it. And that is an encouraging thought.
Sudden brightness.
That is the way.
Gandalf points at the right-hand tunnel. The Fellowship scramble to their feet.
He's remembered. No, but the air doesn't smell so foul down there. If in doubt, Meriadoc, always follow your nose. Yes. Or yes.
Yes.
Let's see.
Yes. Yes.
Should I do narration for a bit?
Yeah.
I don't think.
Sorry?
Should I take over narration for a bit, or?
Sure, if you want to.
Sure. Do you
It's been a while. I've seen Frodo for
Yeah.
There's like a wee bit of Frodo coming up, but
I
like
mean,
not
Tom's
much.
just had a lot of
I see some Gimli coming, like, you know.
Oh yeah, there's some more notes over here.
Man, also this. I don't say this is Galadriel. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah. Oh, the music in this is so good. Okay. Interior Dwerodelf Chamber, Moria, day. The Fellowship pass on an arched doorway into a black and empty space. Gandalf pauses.
Let me risk a little more light.
That's Halo, but Gandalf taps his staff. For a brief moment, a light blazes like a silent flash of lightning. Great shadows spring up and flee.
Sorry. Behold, the great realm and dwarf city of Dorodelf.
Frodo gasps at the brief sight of a vast roof, far above their heads, upheld by many mighty pillars hewn of stone. Before them stretches a huge empty hall, with black walls polished and smooth as glass.
Well, there's an eye-opener, and no mistake.
Ahead of them, a wooden door has been smashed. Black arrows are embedded in the timbers. 2 goblin skeletons lie in the doorway. Gimli rushes ahead.
Gimli!
Interior of Balin's tomb, Moria. Gimli rushes into a vast empty chamber, lit with a narrow shaft of sunlight, beaming in from a small hole near the roof. Dwarf and goblin skeletons are piled high. In the far corner sits a stone-walled well. A shaft of light falls directly onto a stone tablet in the middle of the room. A single oblong block, about 4 feet high, topped with a great slab of white stone. Gimli falls to his knees.
No. No, oh no.
Gimli sobs. Gandalf quietly reads an inscription of runes, carved onto the white stone slab.
There lies Balin, son of Fúden, lord of Moria. He is dead then. It is as I had feared.
Gandalf carefully lifts the rotting remains of a book from the white stone slab. It has been slashed and stabbed, and appears to be covered in dried blood. The pages crack and break as he opens it. We must move on. We cannot linger.
They have taken the bridge in the second hall. We have barred the gates. Cannot hold them for long. The ground shakes. Drums in the deep. We cannot get out. A shadow moves in the dark. Will no one save us? They are coming.
Unnerved, Pippin backs away nervously. He stumbles against the well, sending a precariously balanced armored skeleton tumbling in. Merry reaches out, grabbing hold of Pippin before he falls. The fellowship freeze in stunned silence as the armored skeleton clatters down the deep well, echoing loudly. Gandalf turns angrily on Pippin.
Fool of a Took! Throw yourself in next time and rid us of your stupidity!
They fall silent, Pippin chastened. A low rolling boom rises from the depths below, growing louder. Boom! Boom! As if the caverns of Moria were turned into a vast drum. Boom, boom, boom. A great horn blasts nearby, answering horns. Running feet. Harsh cries. Sam's eyes glance at Frodo's belt.
Mr. Frodo!
Frodo looks down. A cold blue glow is emanating from Sting's scabbard. Frodo draws a sword and stares at its glowing blade. Orcs!
Get back! Stay close to Gandalf.
Aragorn and Boromir slam and budge the doors. Boromir catches sight of something. He turns to Aragorn with shock in his eyes.
They have a cave troll.
It's so They have a cave troll. Gimli snatches up 2 rusty dwarf axes and leaps onto the tomb.
Let them come. There is still one dwarf in. There is one dwarf yet in Moria who still draws breath.
Boom! The door bursts open in a shower of wood fragments, and 20 goblins charge into the tomb, followed by a huge cave troll. Goblins. Gimli ducks a blow and immediately buries his axes in 2 goblin helmets. Aragorn and Boromir wade into the mass of goblins with their swords. Legolas fires deadly arrows into the goblin throats, desperately trying to shield the hobbits. Gandalf's clutching his sword and joins into the battle, the cave troll sweeping his club at Aragorn, who stumbles backwards. The huge club descends for the killing blow. Suddenly, in a flash of steel, Boromir's long sword slices into the scaly arm of the troll. It rears back, spewing green blood. Sam is backing up against the wall, a sword in one hand, a saucepan in the other. In desperation, he swings wildly at the goblin with the saucepan. It keels over. Sam looks surprised. He wallops on the goblin and the dude drops.
I see I'm getting an hang of this.
The cave troll lunges forward, thrusting at Frodo's chest with his spears. Aragorn! Aragorn! As Sam screams as Frodo is lifted off his feet by the spear tip and slammed against the wall.
Frodo!
The hobbits go crazy. Sam slashes at cave troll's knee, bringing him down. Merry and Pippin jump on him. Legolas fires an arrow, and the cave troll topples, dead.
Hobbits were a lot more badass.
They jump on a neck. They jump on a neck in the film and stab at him. Yeah, they're badass.
Okay, I don't even remember that.
There's a lot of clearly the choreographers really like got to this scene.
Yeah.
There's a lot more in the film than I mean, as you'd expect.
Yeah, it actually
They go
seems
out,
not a
like,
make
double
long.
shooting
Yeah.
But they do that because they're stabbing him in the back.
Yeah.
Aragorn rushes to Frodo's side as he slumps to the floor. Frodo appears to be dead. Close on, Gandalf, Aragorn, hobbits looking horrified. Suddenly Frodo coughs, takes a huge breath.
He's alive!
I'm alright. I'm not hurt.
You should be dead! That spirit has skewed a wild boar!
I think there's more to this hobbit than meets the eye.
Frodo opens his shirt to reveal the mithril vest. The troll's spear did not pierce the mithril.
Mithril, you're full of surprises, Master Baggins.
Boom. Boom boom. The sound of the drums ring out again. Gandalf turns to the others.
To the bridge of Khazad-dûm!
Tom, you wanna take over again?
Yeah, there's a bit of Frodo coming up, I think, and stuff.
Interior Drow Elf.
Right before 95, yeah. Interior Dwarrodelf.
Yeah, Chamber Moria. Gandalf leads the Fellowship into the huge Dwarven Elf chamber.
This way!
They hurry towards a distant door as goblins start scuttling down the pillars behind them like cockroaches. Frodo looks with horror at the overwhelming goblin army that's rushing toward them. Suddenly, a deafening roar fills the air. A fiery light dances down the hallway, the pillars casting eerie shadows. The goblins freeze. They back fearfully away from the approaching beast, melting into the darkness.
What is this new devilry?
A huge shadow, surrounded by flame, falls across the hall. The ground shakes. An unearthly sound rumbles.
See, this is where the cinematography really, like, Peter Jackson's, like, ideas and stuff, where it's, like, it's one, like, row of pillars apart from them, and you just kind of see, like, the idea of the light approaching, but you don't get a view of it at this point. Yeah,
It's really
yeah. A Balrog, a demon of the ancient world. This foe is beyond any of you. Run, quickly!
Well, I also really like, I mean, I don't know if he got direction on this, but like Legolas in the film looks so fucking scared at this point when Gandalf says that. Yeah.
Oh,
No, it's
God.
like, Legolas, up until now, he's like, I'm an elf, I'm an elf. It's like, oh shit.
Yeah, he's like,
That's like actually something older than me.
Cheat hacks.
I also like the only thing else was scared of, I reckon. In the, like,
Yeah.
in the, we talk about, like, that's the one thing they fucking fear. Sorry.
The interior stairway of Khazad-dûm, Moria. The Balrog, a massive creature, rises from a chasm. A great 40-foot man
40 feet.
the mane of flames. In one hand is a blade, like a stabbing tongue of fire. In the other, a whip of many tongues. Aragorn leads the Fellowship to the top of a dizzying stair. Gandalf follows, leaning heavily on his staff. Close on. Aragorn looks at Gandalf, concerned.
Lead them on, Aragorn. The bridge is near.
Aragorn hesitates. Gandalf looks at him.
Do as I say. Swords are of no more use here.
The Fellowship race down the stairs. Aragorn picks up Frodo, leaping across the gaping chasm. A narrow bridge, spanning a bottomless pit. Gandalf yells to the others. Aragorn makes it throw Gimli across the chasm.
Nobody crosses a dwarf.
The Balrog smashes through the wall and spreads its vast wings.
I don't think this is
I don't think this is a narration.
No, it's 100%.
Yeah.
Narration.
It upsets me that not the beard
yeah.
isn't in the script.
It swoops down past the Fellowship, disappearing into a flaming pit. The Fellowship run into a hall. The floor is split with fissures that spit flame.
Over the bridge! Fly!
They race towards the slender bridge of stone, without curb or rail. At the far end of the hall... Oh, fuck it. I'm gonna restart this. They race towards the slender bridge of stone, without curb or rail, at the far end of the hall. The Fellowship recklessly hurry over the dizzying bridge, but Gandalf, the last, pauses in the middle of the span, faces the Balrog, staff in one hand, sword in the other. Frodo looks back and
sorry.
forth.
I'm so ready. I'm ready. I'm very sorry. You cannot pass!
Gandalf!
I am the servant of the secret fire, wielder of the flame of Arnor. The dark fire will not avail you. Flame of Udun!
Frodo watches as the Balrog puts one foot on the bridge and draws up to full height, wings spreading from wall to wall. Gandalf is a tiny figure, balanced precariously on the narrow bridge.
Go back to the shadow.
The Balrog slashes at Gandalf with its sword of flame. Gandalf blocks with his sword, a ringing clash, and the Balrog sword shatters into molten fragments.
You shall not pass!
The Balrog places one foot onto the bridge. Aragorn and Boromir race forward, swords drawn. Gandalf cries aloud as he summons up his last reserves of strength. He thumps the bridge with his staff. A blinding sheet of white flame springs up. The staff shatters. The bridge breaks right at Balrog's feet. The stone bridge drops away into the gulf from under the Balrog. For a moment, the great beast remains poised in the air. Then it plunges down. In slow motion, relief floods Frodo's face. Gandalf remains trembling on the lip of the broken bridge. Slow motion. As the Balrog falls, he lashes out with his whip fire. Slow motion. The thongs of the whip lash and curl around Gandalf's knees, dragging him over the brink. Gandalf just manages to hang on by his fingertips.
Bullshit.
Gandalf!
Fools.
Gandalf lets go. Gandalf lets go of his grip and falls away, following the Balrog to the bottomless abyss. Frodo cries out. Boromir scoops him up and carries him away.
No!
Gandalf!
They rush towards Nargthrond.
Man, what I'd really like doing it, dude, it'd be so fun to do this in person when you can like actually like kind of like react to other
Act
people
it
and
out.
have like physically, like act out.
Yeah.
It'd be
Just
so.
learn the lines.
Well, yeah, I mean, you hold the script, in your hand. It's like,
I'll be literally waiting for that moment the whole fucking time we're sitting here, like,
shall not pass.
ready for the Bridge of Khazad-dûm.
Fly, you fools.
I think yours and Potrak's voice, it would have been really fun loaded. Like Gandalf and Boromir and like everybody, they have so many good lines in the Fellowship.
Yeah.
Everyone
Now
else.
I got to
Yeah,
AFK until like halfway through the two
Go
towers.
level up in peace, Right,
And I'm
anyway.
just.
Not all.
I just do the narration.
Yeah, Tom, you're a great narrator. You probably had the most words out of any of us.
Wait, where were
That's
we?
my favorite true, yeah.
We are at
Just
Dimrold
before
Dale
98.
But
Door.
Yeah.
they rush towards an archway, yeah.
The Fellowship tumble.
Well done. The Fellowship tumble out of the Great Eastern Gate onto a grassy sunlit hillside. Sam, Merry, and
Slippery.
Pippin fall slowly to the ground, stopping. Aragorn turns to Legolas and Gimli.
Legolas, get them up.
Give them a moment. For pity's sake.
By nightfall, these hills will be swarming with orcs. We must reach the words of Lothlorien. Come, Boromir, Legolas, Gimli, get them up. On your feet, Sam. This isn't me saying it.
Boromir glances towards Frodo, then back at Aragorn. Frodo is walking away as if in a daze.
Frodo! Frodo!
Close on. Frodo slowly turns, a look of numb shock on his devastated face. The Fellowship marches on. Exterior Dimrill Dale hillside. Aragorn scowers ahead of the company as they stumble on in the fading light. In the distance, the shimmer of a large forest can be seen. Lothlorien. Edge of Lothlorien, dusk. The Fellowship run across a forest floor strewn with yellow flowers. Above is a roof of golden leaves, held up by silver pillars. The trunks of huge grey trees. Gimli looks nervously around.
Stay close, young hobbits. They say a sorcerer lives in these woods. An elf witch with terrible power. All who look upon her fall under her spell.
Frodo hesitates. Strange voice whispers in his head.
Frodo,
And never to be seen again.
your coming to us is at the footsteps of doom. You bring great evil here, Ringbearer.
Mr. Frodo?
Here's a dwarf she wanted to snare so easily. I have the eyes of a hawk and the ears of a fox.
The Fellowship are suddenly surrounded by armed elves, deadly arrows aimed at their heads. Haldir, the elvish captain, steps forward. He looks at Gimli with disdain.
To do howdy, Tom.
Okay.
I can do it. It's,
Oh yeah.
I've got I've got Mary. For
Oh yeah, Gandalf is dead. Yeah,
Mary for the rest
Gandalf
of the
is dead. Oh yeah.
Wait, didn't we?
The dwarf 3 is so loud, we could have shot him in the dark.
Howdy of Lorien, we come here for your help. We need your protection.
So don't give me the elvish.
Aragorn, these woods are perilous. We should go back.
You have entered the realm of the Lady of the Wood. You cannot go back.
Haldir's eyes lock onto Frodo.
Come. She is waiting.
Exterior, Lorien hilltop. Haldir leads the fellowship onto a hilltop. They look with wonderment at the vista spread before them. Several miles towards the south, a large hill rises out of the woods. Upon the hill rise many mighty melon trees, taller than any other. Nestled high in the crown of the Malons is a beautiful city. It gleams in the low rays of the late afternoon sun, green, gold, and silver. To the east of Caras Galadhon, the woods of Lorien round down the pale gleam of Anduin, the great river. Beyond the river, the land appears flat and empty, formless and vague, until far away it rises again like a dark and dreary wall. The sun that lies on Lothlorien has not power to enlighten the shadows that lie beyond. Cut to interior Celeborn's chamber, Caras Galadhon night. Engelon, the Fellowship. The Fellowship step onto a white fleet filled with a soft light. The walls are green and silver, the roof gold, and in its midst is the trunk of the mighty Malon tree, now tapering towards its crown. Celeborn steps forward to greet the guest. His hair is long and silver, his face grave and beautiful, with no sign of age upon it. Next to him stands Galadriel, the Lady of the Elves. She has hair of deep gold and timeless, unsurpassed beauty. Celeborn looks hard at Aragorn.
You do it, Chris?
Again?
What's the difference between Celeborn and Haldir, really?
They're both elves.
8 there are, yet 9 there were set out from Rivendell. Tell me, where is Gandalf? For I much desire to speak with
You
him.
lucky boy.
It's got nabbed that one.
Yeah, I guess I'll lose Celeborn.
Tell me, where's Gandalf?
Frodo looks at Galadriel, standing silently beside Celeborn.
He has fallen into shadow.
Galadriel looks to Aragorn.
The quest stands upon the edge of a knife. Stray but a little, and it will fail, to the ruin of all. Yet hope remains while the company is true.
Galadriel's eyes settle on Sam.
Do not let your hearts be troubled. Go now and rest, for you are weary with sorrow and much toil.
Galadriel's eyes turn to Frodo. Her voice fades.
Tonight you will sleep in peace. Welcome, Frodo of the Shire.
Close on. Frodo looks at Galadriel. Galadriel, as she is on the other side, powerful divine, no longer of this world. A piercing white light surrounds her.
One who has seen the eye.
Exterior. Caras Galadhon Night. Gimli, Legolas, Merry, Pippin, Frodo, and Sam are in a pavilion set among trees near the fountain. They lie on soft couches as elves leave food and wine for them. Mournful singing drifts down from the trees above.
A lament for Gandalf.
What do they say about him?
I have not the heart to tell you. For me, the grief is still too near. Boromir is sitting alone. Oh, wait.
Look at him. What a fucking nerd.
What a fucking loner. And Aragorn approaches him.
Take some rest. These borders are well protected.
Moonlight catches the trace of tears on Boromir's face. Aragorn kneels down beside him.
I will find no rest here. I heard her voice inside my head. She spoke of my father and the fall of Gondor. She said to me, even now there is hope left, but I cannot see it. It is long since we had any hope.
Boromir looks at Aragorn in despair.
My father is a noble man, but his rule is failing, and our people, and our people lose faith. He looks to me and to make things right, I would do it. See the glory of Gondor restored. Have I ever seen it, Aragorn? Have you ever seen it, Aragorn? The white tower of it. Eselian. Glimmering like a spike of pearl and silver. Its banner caught high in the morning breeze. Have you ever been called home by the clear ring of silver trumpets?
I have seen the White City. Long ago.
Boromir feels Aragorn's love for Minas Tirith and takes heart.
One day our paths will lead us there, and the Tower Guard shall take the call. The Lords of Gondor has returned.
Aragorn returns Boromir's smile, betraying his disquiet sadness only when Boromir looks away. Later, the Fellowship are asleep on their beds. Gimli is snoring loudly. Barefeet tread soundlessly across the lawn. Frodo's eyes flicker open, as if by instinct. Galadriel, her white dress glowing in the moonlight, glances at him. Frodo follows her, as if drawn by an invisible force. Galadriel's glade, Lothlorien. Upon a low stone pedestal, carved like a branching tree, sits a shallow silver basin. Galadriel leads Frodo into the small glade.
Will you look into the mirror?
Frodo looks with apprehension at the silver basin.
What will I see?
Galadriel pours water into the basin from a silver jug. A glow rises from the water.
Even the wisest cannot tell you. Even the wisest cannot tell, for the mirror shows many things. Things that were, things that are, and some things that have not yet come to pass.
Frodo slowly steps up to the pedestal. He peers into the glossy surface. The night sky is reflected into the water. Suddenly, a figure takes form. The bowed figure of an old man clad in white robes.
Really?
He walks down a long road. Frodo leans closer to the mirror's surface. Close on. Gandalf lifts his head and looks directly at Frodo. Frodo gasps, his face lighting up with hope.
Gandalf!
Gandalf looks at Frodo with a fierce intensity. Frodo reaches out his hand towards the surface of the mirror. Suddenly, the image flares, burning out to white. The vision shifts. Frodo gasps in horror. The Shire is in ruins. The image suddenly widens to fill the screen. Buildings burning, bodies strewn about, dark shapes of orcs looting and destroying. Back end billowing in flames. The Barty tree is hacked down. Frodo reels back as the mirror seems to grow. The nightmarish image sweeps past his head, engulfing him entirely. Hobbiton, now an industrial wasteland. The fields and trees destroyed, replaced with brick factories belching smoke. Orcs brutally herd manacled hobbits into the factories. Greasy Sam, Merry, and Rosie Cotton. Soot-stained and sobbing, they disappear into the factory hellhole. Suddenly, the mirror goes dark, and out of the black abyss, a single eye grows. Frodo is frozen, unable to move or cry out. The ring dangles from his neck, inches above the water, not shimmering with curls of steam. Fire erupts around the eye. With a yell, Frodo pushes himself away from the pedestal and collapses on the ground. Light instantly fades from the mirror. Frodo comes to his senses. He is shocked. Galadriel stands still as a statue, unmoved, untouched by the horror.
I know what it is you saw, for it is also in my mind. It is the future, Frodo. It is what will come to pass if you should fail.
Galadriel looks at Frodo intensely. Frodo looks down. In his hand, he is clutching the ring. Frodo looks up at Galadriel.
The Fellowship is breaking. It has already begun. He will try to take the ring. You know of whom I speak. One by one, it will destroy them all.
If you ask it of me, I will give you the One Ring.
You offer it to me freely. I do not deny that my heart has greatly desired this.
Galadriel suddenly seems to rise in stature before Frodo's eyes. Frodo is suddenly afraid of her.
In place of the Dark Lord, you would have a queen, not dark but beautiful, as terrible at the dawn, treacherous as the sea, stronger than the foundations of the earth. Oh, shall love me and despair!
Frodo takes a step away from Galadriel. Galadriel suddenly laughed, a slender elf woman once more, clad in simple white, her voice soft and sad.
I passed the test. I will diminish and go into the west and remain Galadriel.
Frodo's confidence strains away.
I cannot do this alone.
You are the ring bearer, Frodo. To bear a ring of power is to be alone. This task was appointed to you, and if you do not find a way, no one will.
Frodo realizes what her message is.
Then I know what I must do. It's just... I'm afraid to do it.
Galadriel kneels down to Frodo's height, staring at him intently.
Even the smallest of person can change the course of the future.
The ring lies in the palm of Frodo's hand. His fingers close over it. Interior Orthanc chamber.
We'll say
Nick.
Lurtid's line. Someone gets to say one Lurtid's only line. Good times.
Yeah, it's like 2 lines.
Lurt's eyes follow Saruman, a light with mean intelligence.
The elves, they were elves once, taken by dark powers, tortured and mutilated, a ruined and terrible form of life, and now perfected. My fighting Uruk-hai, whom do you serve?
Saruman.
Cavern's
You want-
blue
you
eyes
want-
guard.
I was saying, do you want Chris to do narration for Bip? But I don't think he's going to say many lines for like a long time.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
sure,
feel like
sure.
Tom isn't either, but I don't mind sharing the.
Yeah,
sharing
but
the
Tom's
load.
done it for a while.
Share
so
the
we can
load.
share it.
Okay,
yeah,
fine.
exactly.
Yeah, share the
load.
Okay. Cavern below Isengard. Quick cuts. Lurtz is quickly armoured. Breastplate, leg guards, helmet. A sword is thrust in Lurtz's hand. The Uruk-hai are smearing themselves in white paint. A creepy ritualistic ceremony. The white hand of Isengard is smeared on bodies, faces, and armour. Saruman addresses a crowd of 200 fully armed Uruk-hai.
Hunt them down. Do not stop until they are found. You do not know pain. You do not know fear. You will taste man flesh.
Saruman turns to Lurtz.
One of the halflings carried something of great value. Bring him to me, alive and unspoiled. Kill the others. I'm pretty sure
I
it
think
says
so.
kills the rest. Kill the rest. And
No, he said the others.
Just say just kill the others.
He definitely said kill the
I'm
others.
pretty.
Kill the others.
Isengard, day. Lurtz is leading 200 Uruk-hai out of Isengard. They run fast, their powerful legs carrying them at speed. Silverlode Riverbank, dawn. The Fellowship are in small elven boats. They row away from the Lothlorien shore into the Silverlode River. Elves quietly watch them depart. Galadriel gives Frodo a small crystal phial.
Farewell, Frodo Baggins. I give you the light of Arendil, our most beloved star.
As the Fellowship's boats drift past, Galadriel stands alone, watching from the banks of the river. In his head, Frodo still hears her voice.
May it be a light for you in dark places, when all other lights go out.
Oh, they miss the
Portentous.
other gifts.
Yeah,
this
they don't do
is
them in film
clearly
at
the film version of the script,
Yeah,
like the
yeah,
one that's
that's
finally
the initial.
filmed.
Yeah.
The boats pass into the great river Anduin. The 3 elven boats carry the Fellowship steadily southward. Green trees slowly give way to a brown and withered land. Forest day. The Uruk forces are running through the trees with deadly purpose. And back to the river Anduin. A flock of birds circle high above, black against the pale sky. Aragorn watches them with concern. Pillars of the Kings, River Anduin. The 3 elven boats drift slowly through the steep rocky gorge into the pre-dawn light. Aragorn slowly paddling in the stern.
Frodo.
Frodo slowly looks up,
That's creepy.
his eyes widening with amazement. Wide on, 2 enormous rock statues towering like 300-foot pinnacles on either side of the river, carved images of Gondorian kings of old. They loom over the boats with power and majesty.
Yarganath.
Aragorn, strangely moved by the beauty of the silent sentinels, he speaks, almost as if to himself.
Long have I desired to look upon the kings of old, my kin,
The Fellowship stare in stunned silence as the current takes them through the narrow gap between the statue's feet.
I'm so disappointed I wasn't that the golden hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really sad. That's like one of Gimli's best things. Yeah, and Legolas is as well when Legolas is like the cheeky little smirk when he's like, "Oh yeah, it's good shit, man. That's good shit."
Ask for a single golden hair.
Three.
She gave me 3.
Single hair from her golden.
Yeah, it's really good.
She gave me 3.
Right.
Craning up past the statues' vast crumbling heads to reveal a large lake only a mile downriver. Shores of Nenhidothoel, like this. The Fellowship, as they leap out of the boats and clamber onto the wooden shore.
We cross the lake by nightfall, hide the boats, and continue on foot. We approach Mordor from the north.
Ah, yes. A simple matter finding our way through Eminmil. An impassable labyrinth of razor-sharp rocks. And after that it gets even better. A festering, stinking marshland as far as the eye can see.
That is our road. I suggest you take some rest and recover your strength, Master Dwarf.
Recover my...
Legolas turns to Aragorn with urgency.
We should leave now.
No. Orcs patrol the eastern shore. We must wait for cover of darkness.
It is not the eastern shore that worries me.
Legolas casts a glance around into the Parthgalian forest.
A shadow and a threat has been growing in my mind. Something draws near. I can feel it.
Aragorn looks at Legolas, knowing full well what he means. Sam has slumped asleep. Merry dumps a small pile of kindling at Gimli's feet. Where's Frodo? Sam sits up at the start. Aragorn's head snaps around. His eyes fly to Boromir's shield, which lies abandoned by his camp bed. Aragorn, as he realizes Boromir has gone. Slopes of Amon Hen. Frodo is walking beneath the trees, lost in thought. His feet hit the rough edge of an ancient stone slab. His eyes follow an overgrown path towards stone stairs leading to the summit of Amon Hen, the seeing seat. A crackling sound. Frodo freezes.
None of us should wander alone. You least of all. So much depends on you. Frodo?
Frodo turns, slowly. He stares at Boromir, tense, cautious.
You know you seek solitude. You suffer. I see it day by day. Are you sure you do not suffer needlessly?
Frodo stands silent for a moment. The murmur of the wind in the trees and the distant roar of the falls of Rhoros can be heard.
Let me help you. There are other ways, Frodo. Other paths we might take.
I know what you would say, and it would seem like wisdom but for the warning of my heart.
Warning? Against what?
Boromir has started towards Frodo. He pulls himself up.
We're all afraid, Frodo. But to let that fear drive us to destroy what we hope to have, don't you see it as madness?
There is no other way.
I only ask for the strength to defend my people. If you would but lend me the ring.
No.
Frodo steps hurriedly away from Boromir.
Why you recoil? I'm no thief.
I'm not trying to rob you. I'm trying to help.
Plays the audio recording.
You are not yourself.
What chance do you think you have? They will find you. They will take the ring and you will beg for death before the end.
Frodo turns to leave.
You fool! It is not yours saved by... It is not yours saved by unhappy chance. It might have been mine. It should have been mine. Give it to me. Give me the ring.
Boromir leaps on top of Frodo, grasping for the ring. Frodo has only moments to act. Frodo rips the ring from around his neck and rams it on his finger. Frodo disappears. Boromir spins wildly around, yelling into thin air.
I see your mind. You will take the ring to Sauron. You will betray us. You will go to death and take death to and the death of us all.
Still you.
Oh, it's
Keeps
even
going,
more
yeah.
me. Curse you! Curse you and your halflings!
Boromir stumbles and falls. His body shakes as if in the throes of a fit. Slowly he comes to.
Frodo? Frodo? What have I done? Please, Frodo?
Seeing Seat. Frodo races through the misty twilight world, past the foggy shapes of twisted trees. Somewhere behind him, Boromir's distraught voice carries from another dimension.
I'm sorry. Frodo? Frodo?
Frodo suddenly finds himself on the stone steps. He clambers up the stairs onto a high seat perched on 4 stone pillars. Frodo cowers on the seat like a lost child upon the throne of mountain kings. The world of mist swirls around him. Frodo peers out from the seat, and the world seems to shrink. In all directions, views of far-off lands telescope towards him through the mist. Orcs spilling out of holes in the misty mountains. Flames rising from Mirkwood. Grim-faced Easterlings on the march to war. Black ships sailing into the south. All the power of the Dark Lord is in motion. Frodo moves his gaze towards the east. Fire explodes against the smoke as a huge mass of black battlements fills Frodo's vision. A mountain of iron, immeasurably strong, tower of adamant, Barad-dûr, fortress of Sauron. Suddenly, Sauron's eye leaps towards Frodo like a finger of light. Sauron voiceover in black speech. Anyone?
Yeah, go, Jacko.
Go, Jacko. They will fall. Frodo leaps off the seat and tumbles down the stairs. The eye sweeps Amon Hen like a searchlight, seeking its ring. With a huge effort, Frodo wrenches the ring off his finger. Someone... Frodo lies gasping on the summit of Amon Hen, below the ancient ruins of the Seeing Seat. At that moment, a black boot steps into shot. Frodo looks up as Aragorn towers over him.
Frodo?
Numb.
It has taken Boromir.
Aragorn moves towards Frodo urgently.
Where is the ring?
Frodo backs away from Aragorn. Aragorn is shocked by the movement.
Stay away!
Frodo, I swore to protect you.
Can you protect me from yourself?
Frodo uncurls his fist. In his palm lies the ring. It glints, gold and beautiful in the afternoon sun. Aragorn's eyes are drawn to it.
Would you destroy it?
I would have gone with you to the end. Into the very fires of Mordor.
I know. Look after the others. Especially Sam. He will not understand.
Aragorn freezes. He draws his sword.
Go, Frodo!
Frodo hesitates.
Run! Run!
Frodo backs away into the trees as 200 Uruk-hai swarm onto Amon Hen behind Aragorn. Aragorn attacks the leading Uruk-hai like a madman. He brings 2 down with his sword, leaping into the ruins as others close in on him. Frodo scrambles down the hillside, away from the fight. Aragorn battles the Uruk-hai amongst the pillars and blocks of Amon Hen. Despite his bravery, he is quickly surrounded. Suddenly, elven arrows smash into the Uruk-hai. Legolas races out of the woods, firing his bow. Gimli leaps into battle, wielding his mighty axe. Pathglen hillside. Frodo is darting down the steep hillside as heavy feet thundered down behind him.
Mr. Frodo?
Sam looks around for Frodo. Lurtz ordering his Uruks.
Tom.
Gotta be Tom, yeah?
Gotta be Tom.
Alerts.
Tom?
I'm Lurtz.
You're Lurtz. We're on 112. It's the famous line.
Shit, well, fuck.
So I've been so much apprehension at waiting for.
Oh yeah, sure. Okay.
Find the halflings! Find the halflings!
Frodo stumbles and falls. Quickly, he crawls behind a tree. Above him, the sound of Uruk-hai crashing through the forest rings out. Frodo! Frodo turns to see Merry and Pippin hidden in a hollow a few feet away. Hide here, quick!
Come on.
Frodo looks at his friends, slowly shakes his head, a great sadness in his eyes.
What's he doing?
Merry's eyes meet Frodo's, understanding. He's leaving.
No.
Pippin stands and makes a move towards Frodo. Merry grabs at his arm. Pippin! The echo of Boromir's horn reaches Aragorn. Legolas and Gimli. They are battling their way down the slopes of the lake.
The Horn of Gondor!
Boromir!
Aragorn desperately slashes his way towards Boromir, felling Uruk-hai in his path, while Legolas and Gimli fight a rearguard action. Many Uruk-hai fall to Boromir's sword as he tries to protect Merry and Pippin.
Run! Run!
Lurtz takes aim. A black arrow suddenly thuds into Boromir's chest. Amazingly, Boromir continues to fight, but another arrow, and another, brings him to his knees. Merry and Pippin are scooped off their feet by the Uruk-hai. Boromir!
Dude, that scene is so much more badass in the movie. It's like
Blood
this
aims
It takes so long.
really slow free shots. Come on.
He takes like 30 Urukai in between.
Boy, does it takes. He's like, stab, and all that stuff. Blood aims his bow at Boromir's heart. Suddenly, Aragorn charges at him, smashing the bow with his sword. They lock into deadly battle. And Aragorn cuts Lurtz down and races towards Boromir. Wow, that was protracted in the film as well.
Right?
Who lies slumped against a tree, Uruk-hai arrows sticking out of his chest. At least 20 dead Uruk-hai lie heaped around Boromir. His horn lies at his feet, cloven in two.
They took the little ones.
Aragorn quickly tries to staunch the flow of blood from Boromir's shoulder.
Frodo, where's Frodo?
I let Frodo go.
Boromir holds Aragorn's gaze.
But I could not. I tried to take the ring from him.
The ring is beyond our reach now.
Forgive me, I did not see. I failed you all.
No, Boromir. You fought bravely. You have kept your honor.
Aragorn tries to bind Boromir's wound.
Leave it. It is over. The world of men will fall, and all will come to darkness, and my city to ruin are gone.
I do not know what strength is in my blood, but I swear to you, I will not let the White City fall, nor your people fail.
People. Our people.
Aragorn places Boromir's sword in his hand. Boromir's fingers tighten around the hilt.
I would have followed you, my brother. My captain. King.
Aragorn lays Boromir down. He is dead.
Be at peace, son of Gondor.
Aragorn bends and kisses Boromir's forehead. Legolas and Gimli appear behind him. Aragorn stands.
They will look for his coming from the White Tower, but he will not return.
Shore of Nen Uthoel. On the lakeshore, Frodo stands in front of one of the elvish boats, the ring in his palm. A distraught Sam, running as hard as he can through the forest.
Mr. Frodo!
Frodo looks to the far side of the river. The camera moves in on the ring.
I wish the ring had never come to me. I wish none of this had happened.
Tears fall down Frodo's face. So do all who lie to see such times. But I don't know. Someone so do all who live to see such times, but that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given us. With renewed determination, Frodo tucks the ring inside his vest pocket. The small figure of Frodo pushing the elvish boat into the water. Sam bursts through the trees and runs towards the lake. Frodo is already paddling away.
Not alone, Frodo! Mr. Frodo! Frodo!
Oh no, it's like actually.
Frodo, in the boat, paddling steadfastly away from the shore, tears in his eyes, the voice of Sam carried on the wind. Frodo whispers to himself.
No, Sam.
Sam looks at the water, then the boat. Splash! Frodo turns to see Sam launching himself into the water.
Go back, Sam. I'm going to Mordor alone.
Sam splatters hopelessly toward the boat.
Of course you are, and I'm coming with you!
You can't swim.
Sam starts to go under, spluttering and coughing. Frodo drops his paddle and scrambles backwards in the boat.
Sam!
Sam is underwater, hands flailing helplessly as he sinks. Frodo's hand is grasping Sam's. Frodo pulls a bedraggled and half-drowned Sam into the boat. Frodo and Sam look at each other, out of breath, tears and water streaming down both their faces.
I made a promise, Mr. Frodo. A promise. Don't you leave him, Samwise Gamgee. And I don't mean to. I don't mean to.
Oh, Sam.
Frodo starts to laugh through his tears. The two friends hug.
Come on, then.
I joked about it before, but this fucking charm spell Gandalf have on Sam.
Yeah.
Myself, Will.
It's chaos over
Hobbits row through the water. Falls of Rhoros, Ariel. Slow motion. Looking down on swiftly flowing water, Boromir's body slides under camera. He is lying in one of the boats, his arms across his chest, his broken horn at his side. Suddenly, the boat drops away from camera as it plunges over the massive falls of Rhoros, disappearing into the vapor below.
If we are quick, we will catch Frodo and Sam before nightfall.
Aragorn looks toward the far shore. Frodo and Sam's small boat can be seen lying on the distant riverbank as Frodo and Sam make off into the forest beyond. He doesn't react. Legolas turns and looks at Aragorn.
You mean not to follow them?
Frodo's fate is no longer in our hands.
And the fellowship, then it's all been in vain. Fellowship have failed.
Not if we hold true to each other. We will not abandon Merry and Pippin to torment and death. Not while we have strength left.
Aragorn pulls a hunting knife out of his pack and straps it on.
Leave all that can be spared behind.
Close on, Aragorn, a steely light in his eye.
We travel light. Let's hunt some orc.
Yeah.
Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli disappear into the woods, following the Uruk-hai trail. Exterior Eminmuil hilltop.
So
Bay.
close.
Frodo and Slam scramble onto a high ridge, a distant line of sawtooth mountains below a dark, oppressive sky. Black volcanic smoke rises behind the mountains. Mordor.
Mordor! I hope the others find a safer road.
Strider will look after him.
I don't suppose we'll ever see them again.
We may yet, Mr. Frodo. We may.
Sam?
Frodo looks at Sam with great affection. Despite the grim outlook, Sam is undeterred.
I'm glad you're with me.
Wide on, the two hobbits setting off toward Mordor. That was good fun. That was really good.
Yeah,
That was
so
good,
cool.
Man, it's crazy how you can literally just see everything.
I know.
Oh my god.
Makes me think I want to watch those films too many
I
times.
don't know, it makes me need to watch them again.
If I'm not mistaken, in December, a 4K version of all the movies that are coming out.
Yeah.
Nice.
I was meant to come on.
I've already got like mega. Hang on, let me just check real
Dude,
quick.
the Lord of the Rings Blu-rays are the only Blu-rays I own. I was like, I got
Yeah,
it.
they're like
Minute download.
right there.
Yeah, my Fellowship of the Ring. I think I used to have like a 50 gigabyte Fellowship of the Ring, but it was too big. I've got like a 17 gigabyte Fellowship, a 17 gigabyte Two Towers, and a almost 20 gigabyte Return of the King. You know, need those proper high. They're much by far and away the biggest like film folder on my computer is the Lord of the Rings.
On the 7th, 4K.
Nice.
It really didn't give Boromir fight justice, so you know, like man, it's so
Yeah.
fun. One paragraph.
Well, now I know why we're like 2/3 of the way through and still in the House of Elrond.
Yeah. Makes
So
sense.
the cave troll fight and the Uruk-hai fight were really very much down to the
But
directing.
it just makes sense, right? Because like, there's no point like writing like fight scenes when
Yeah, that's
the
for the choreographer.
Yeah, exactly. They might
They're gonna figure out how many stunt people they have and where they're gonna put them and where what the set's gonna look like.
The only thing the script needs to be is like where the character are in.
Yeah, like what's the result in the fight, right? Basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude,
Man,
this
that
is
was-
great practice for like
Dude,
dialogue.
it's so fun to do in person. Holy shit!
Yeah.
Like, if we do like Lord of the Rings now, I have to think of another film to do next time we like meet up in person. Just like maybe a shorter film, like something like Thor Ragnarok or some film like that, right? It would just be like really fun to do. That'd be.
Yeah.
I think it'd be really fun to
It's
do.
definitely not fun. We should just in general do more of these maps.
Yeah, like
occasionally.
but I mean,
Next
Lord of-
week? Next
I
week?
think we should, like,